All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. I couldn't be happier that you're here. And one of the reasons I'm excited to see you is because I actually do sort of, not completely. Don't feel the need to tidy up. Don't turn around and start going cat, or recreate scenes from, I think it was the first Police Academy where the guy is eating his cereal and he goes, Binky, Binky, the litter box, the litter box. Don't feel I can see that much into your existence. No, I can see you in the chat room. And so, hello. Thanks, Sylvia. I'm glad you like it. I just bought it. I have a couple of these from over the years, but this is a new one from recently seeing Winger, Skid Row, Warrant, and Quiet Riot over here in Vegas. They all did this little show, and we traipsed over there. And I got to be honest, I missed all of Warrant's show, and I wanted to see it because I haven't seen them with their new singer. And I heard it, but I was backstage the entire time talking to Kip Winger for like 2 hours. So I missed, well, we saw their show. And then I went back, I'm like, I'll just go back and say hi. And then, because I don't want to bother him, whatever. And we sat down and chatted for a good long while. It was awesome. It was a great conversation. I love Kip. He's a good dude. And the new singer, hold on one second. I have to make my chat come up. There we go. Yes, it was definitely a humble brag. Back up. Love Skid Row indeed, or whatever. Who's singing for? It's Jizzy Pearl is singing for Quiet right now. They sounded great too. They really, really did. Tight background vocals, all this guys. Anyways, Kip's a great dude, and it was nice to talk to him, and I just had a great time. I'm done bragging, but somebody asked me about the shirt, and that's where I got it. We even though I'm sometimes in a position to get tickets to things, unless they are an extraordinary upgrade, where they're like, even when they're not, quite frankly. I have this thing where I buy a ticket even if I'm gifted one, because I feel like I'm taking the place. So like what I'll do is I'll buy like if somebody's like, we'll put you down with our folks or whatever. You want to come? Here's a couple of tickets. I will graciously take them, but I will also buy some like shit seats up in the back that might or might not be sold or whatever. And if I had the means and wherewithal, I'll probably end up buying those anyways for myself. And then I'll just hand them off to somebody or something. If they're there, I'll have them in my pocket. If somebody's like, anybody got tickets or whatever, I'll just hand them to them. Is Red Beach still playing with Winger? He's an amazing guitarist. I agree. Yes, he is. He's playing with Whitesnake though, so he was on tour with them, and they had a fill-in with them. And hold on one second. Also, getting in here. There we go. I'm scrolling ahead. This is me. And this is what happens when I get, looking at, there we go. Hold on. Yeah, hold on. Okay. We'll get into that conversation later. Cause I honestly, I have, yeah, he plays with Whitesnake right now. It's a lot of heavy lifting trying to fill in for, John Sykes. Just saying. All right. Now, did Winger play this Matt Gaetz theme song? No, because he would not sing about it. He would whisper it, I suppose. I'll have you know that both when Christine 16, which is a Kiss song of dubious lyric that a lot of people give us a lot of side eye at, and when 17 came out, technically both of those referenced girls were older women to me. Christine 16 would have been a full 7 years older than me, and because I heard that song when I think when I was 9, and then the girl in 17 was technically, if you count when they recorded it, especially, but it was at least a year and a half older than me. So I never had an issue with it, in that regard. When you're 15 and you're listening to a song called 17, you're like, all right, I'm trading up in the world. There you go. So there's a lot to cover today. Too much to cover on so many fronts. And it becomes hard to choose, I have to say, in some of these situations. I mean, we can always default to in life Ben Shapiro reading to us from his laptop in several different locations. This is becoming like an art installation. This is the entire show. Like you guys know I fucking hate it when Greg Kelly looks at his desk. And he does a show and he won't even look and the camera's right there right? It drives me apeshit. This is worse. I don't know how he manages to, but somehow Ben Shapiro ends up like shitting the rug production-wise more than anybody, with more money, by the way, I would argue, than Newsmax has. I would argue that the Daily Wire and Shapiro Show probably takes in, they have lower overhead probably, takes in more money and has less going out the door. This one, there's a couple, like he dropped a couple of these today, but this one in particular, hold on one second. Al Gore, hold on. I want to show you something. He had another one sort of in a row. Where it is. Okay, here you go. Hold on. Okay. All right. He did two of these today. And this one's about monkeypox. And but anyways, it's not important. Like, they're all stupid. Like, the videos are all ridiculous. They love lying to you. Do you guys recognize this shit? Recognize that title at all? Is anybody looking around at analytics and going, gee, who are the up-and-comers on the internet that are in my sphere, and how do they title their shows? This, I would argue, is the rusty trombone effect. Right? Yeah, exactly. OALM got it right out of the gate. Yes, total Russell ripoff. And yes, we have hit 666 people in the chat room, like right out of the gate, almost before we start. So if you feel like super chatting 666, just to irritate folks, please do. Now, again, this show, and then this is two separate clips. Watch this. Two separate clips. I'm switching back and forth. This is They Love Lying to You, and this is Al Gore compared them to what? Look at these titles. Ben Shapiro is watching Russell Brand steal his audience. Now, the nice thing about being a true liberal in the one true liberal context is that I'm not going to lose my audience to Jimmy Dore or to any of these fuckheads, and certainly not Russell Brand. It's really weird when Ben Shapiro has to worry about that. And that's exactly what this is. He is trying to show up with these kind of titles in the exact same, people who watch this, watch this. I'm not worried about that. As a matter of fact, I would like to welcome some of the disaffected TYT people and the, I guess I don't know which version of the Jimmy Dore people who might end up here. Probably this just trolls largely, but occasionally we might convince one of you to, to come over from the dark side and stop promoting stop promoting rape squads. I mean, it's not a lot to ask from a person who calls them a progressive. One would think. Anyways, all right. So I'm obviously not going to, my crowd is going to be disaffected by me and go there because, ew. But the irony that Ben Shapiro is losing crowd, somebody goes, sometimes TYT gets it right. They have to sometimes or it wouldn't be convincing. That's why Trump's populism, and everybody's like, Trump has a certain populism that appeals to. If it didn't appeal to that, we wouldn't even be talking about him. It's a 40% rule. You can be right 40% of the time, and the other time it's 60%. I've often talked about it, where people, it's like people who come up to you and go, these days you can't even, with stand up, you got to be careful because you can't even, which is arguably kind of true. You go, you know, these days you can't even say Merry Christmas. And you're like, all right, yeah, I've never run into that, but at your job they might. And then they followed up with, you can't even say Merry Christmas to a couple of Jews walking down the street in the middle of July. And you're like, okay, you're just a racist asshole. It isn't about what you can or can't do. You're just a prick. Maybe that's why you're getting blowback. Anyways, the point is, it's bigger than the broken clock standard, I would say, Jane, but basically that principle. Now, but I love the Al Gore compared them to what? Now, he's gotten a climate change fact check, but let's see what they compared him to what? Ladies and gentlemen, by the way, I as much as we will not cut any of this out of context, I reserve the right to get bored and leave this clip. I have no doubt. I just can't imagine we're going to learn anything other than how this idiot thinks. Oh, hold on. And this is very loud before that. Hold on.
And then the left wonders.
Ooh. And then the left one. Jesus Christ.
Why exactly people feel like the country is coming apart?
Okay, why does the left feel like the country is coming apart? I'm going to go with a bunch of the other side stormed up the fucking Capitol steps and tried to stop the peaceful transfer of power. Like, it's one thing to burn down a Target or have rioting around racial justice issues or other shit like that, because we've seen that before. And yet, and by the way, at those times, both in the civil rights era and even during the LA riots and other shit like that around Rodney King and stuff, there were definitely, if you polled people, there'd be people like, the country is falling apart. But at no point do we need a Target, literally a Target store, to continue our system of government. Therefore, all right.
Maybe it's because you're attacking the fundamental basis of Western civilization and pretending that you're not. Maybe it's...
Well, that could be it. It could be that I guilty as charged. You cut to the quick. Caterpillar face man. Sorry, dueling caterpillar face man. Yes, I understand. I'm questioning the very fabric of the universe.
It's because of that. So
it could be because of that.
Whenever I read stories like this, there's always a backlash that occurs from the left-wing types. Like, well, why are you even paying attention to this? Because...
Wait, there's a backlash from the left-wing types. Why are you even talking about this? What left-wing types are watching the Ben Shapiro show and giving notes?
Because it's on the front page of the New York Times website. That's why.
Yeah, okay. I have to cover it. It's on the New York Times. All right. So what do you expect me to do? Overlook it?
So my favorite game that the left plays is they point out something that is radical, specifically because they hope to shift the debate. And when you notice, they're like, why are you even noticing?
See, if I'm going to, my favorite game that the left plays, that's a tough one for me. I'm gonna go with genital communism. No, that's not really a game. It's more of a hobby. Sorry. What game is it? So, and by the way, he's going to pick out something radical and then exaggerate it to make it represent everybody else and then complain that that's what the left does.
I'm noticing because you're doing it.
Yeah, okay.
That would be the reason why.
Yes, the radicalism, I don't know what he's talking about yet. I don't know where this is going.
And then you wonder why it feels like the country is coming apart.
No, I don't. No, I actually don't think the country is coming apart. I actually recognize this as a natural aspect, and a natural ebb and flow of democracies. You see, if I was in Sri Lanka, I would feel differently.
At the seams, that would be precisely the reason.
Well, maybe America's gotten heavier. Maybe we're just letting things out at the seams. Maybe it's not coming apart at the seams. Maybe we just tore it trying to pick up the laundry basket. And all right.
So Pete Buttigieg, yesterday, he was on State of the Union on CNN.
I thought this was about the New York Times front page. Get it straight, boy.
And he says, we on the left, we're not starting the culture wars. So right now, the left is pushing through the House. They just push through the House.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, Pete Buttigieg. You are starting the culture wars by just being gay. It's the same way that Obama started all the racial tension in the country by being president and black at the same time. I mean, don't you have any sympathy for people that might react to this negatively? You stop starting things by being you. Says the guy whose people wouldn't even be allowed to go to Trump's golf courses 55 years ago without a court order, without the SCOTUS making it happen.
With a bunch of Republican votes, a bill that gets rid of the Defense of Marriage Act and essentially enshrines in law Obergefell, which is the Supreme Court case saying that same-sex marriage is purely legally equivalent to heterosexual marriage in every single way.
Uh-huh. And
it goes a little bit further than that.
Well, yeah, we all get assigned a gay partner. Not technically, it's what's called the side piece amendment. It was put in after the fact. I don't know why. But yeah, you can if you have a heterosexual marriage, you are assigned a gay side piece. Just so you could give it a shot. What? Why do you guys have to pick these fights? Just because this was settled until Clarence Thomas mentioned gay marriage and gay relationships in his Roe v. Wade argument. Why are we always picking this fight? Jesus Christ.
Actually. But again, it essentially makes the law of the land that you are a bigot if you believe that heterosexual marriage is in any way different or superior to homosexual marriage.
Bullshit. This law does not affect your life at all. Unless, Ben, you're gay, in which case it will really fuck up your marriage. I'm just saying, if you have the chance, if you've got 1 foot out the door towards West Hollywood, obviously the codification of gay marriage might affect your heterosexual marriage. Now, secondarily, you can think whatever the fuck you want. You have free speech and free thought. You can shit on it even, technically, the idea of gay marriage. You just can't keep a gay person out of their partner's hospital room when that person is fucking passing away if they have bothered to go through the uniting relationship that they have as a couple, which... when a straight couple, isn't married, they have the problem of not being able to see each other in the hospital unless they have some previous legal arrangement, like they incorporate or some shit. They give each other a power of attorney. So everybody's on the same playing field there. The only difference is when gay marriage was illegal and straight marriage is legal, then the straight people have a right that the gay people don't have, especially in crucial life affirming situations. Also, what? Again, does anybody else feel like we've died and gone back to 2002 with this bullshit?
And people who just says, we're not declaring the culture war. No, you kind of are.
No, you kind of are by being gay. It's not that you're gay. It's that you're just so gay and you found another gay and you're being, you want to be a gay catamaran. And I just have a problem with that. Like, what the fuck? Yeah, you kind of are. Okay? We weren't even talking about this a year ago until Clarence Thomas mentioned it in his, shit.
You kind of are. And just
yeah, okay, you kind of are. Pete Buttigieg, is that...
Because the left has been winning the culture war doesn't mean that if you continue to push, that you're going to continue to win the culture war. Everybody...
Yeah, if you keep asking for more rights for people that I'm not, eventually... His wife must be deaf. No, she just has to be able to hear sounds that only dogs can hear. I have a filter on this. His voice is so high that I have to put a pitch shifter on it and turn it all the way to the bottom just so that A, we can hear it, and B, so my audience's canines don't go. Whenever I'm watching Ben Shapiro videos, to be one of the lefties that gives him notes, apparently, I have to turn the TV down really low, or my neighbor's German Shepherd. Pete Buttigieg, stop declaring a culture war by being yourself in America.
Everybody is pretty tolerant up until the time you start suggesting that they get to teach your kid, that you get to teach their kids, your particular.
You back up. You get to teach your kid. That party's for. They get to teach your kid that you exist. Does this go to we're going straight up Trump, where Trump's like, no teacher will be allowed to teach transgender to our children. like not even in woodshop. All right.
Particular form of anti-traditional morality.
A particular form of anti-traditional morality. No, they just exist. Traditional morality as you see it is exclusive to people that have the same belief system as you. And that's the problem with, and it's going to be a tough one for you, Ben. For you and a lot of modern conservatives, it didn't seem to be for a lot of old conservatives, but it certainly is now. That's the problem for you with America. Now, it's going to shock some people that the first two amendments to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the right of free speech, free association, freedom of religion, and of course, obviously the right to bear arms, I'll tell you this, are direct attacks on the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments says, thou shalt not, take the Lord's name in vain, and I am a jealous God. You shall not take my Lord's name. You have no other gods before me. Okay, the founding fathers right off the bat were like, fuck that. You can have any religion you want, and your belief system stops at the end of your nose when it comes to curtailing the moral values of another person, as long as they have no material impact on you, like murder. Therefore, we're going to give you a gun for that part, because we're too small to have enough cops right now.
Here's Pete Buttigieg, who apparently he's very fond of speaking up on everything except for transportation policy. When it comes
Yeah, I can't imagine why people keep asking that dude about gay stuff.
comes to actually, fixing the supply chain bottleneck.
Yeah. All right. The supply chain bottleneck. I'm not. First of all, the only area specifically where the supply chain bottleneck would be under the purview of, and I do mean perv, in deference to Ben, of Pete Buttigieg, is ports and trucking, of which there are zero limitations currently on those things. Like this, there are volume issues because we are not going to, and I know this is a shock to most conservatives, is that what you're calling yourself these days? That we are not going to have the state, the federal government, build out extra docks up and down certain port cities temporarily, strictly to get in more goods from China that we're not going to be getting over the next 25 to 30 years anyways. That we are removing ourselves from that particular aspect of the supply chain. And the infrastructure bill that is now a law is one of the biggest impacts of Pete Buttigieg working in concert with Biden and getting it through the House and Senate. They did it. The dude this asshole voted for couldn't even get an infrastructure bill through when Democrats would have lined up to get it passed. But he wouldn't do it. You know why? Because Democrats would have lined up to get it passed, and anything that he passed with the help of Democrats, his supporters would think was somehow fucking evil. I bet there's something in Trump's infrastructure bill where it goes right in these tunnels that lead to these wood chippers, and school buses go down there and they make baby milkshakes to drink at ping pong.
Then he's completely uninterested in the job. When it comes to speaking about gay marriage, then of course he is first.
This is like, shit. This is like, we're like, why does Biden, why does Obama always have to talk about being black. Why does he keep bringing it up? If he wouldn't just bring it up with his face, can't he just wear like a Reagan mask while he's in office and I can just pretend? It's like when my wife puts a bag over my head. You know, she can do that. So can Obama. If I can pretend to be groceries so that she can have an orgasm. This is so fucking stupid.
First he's Johnny on the spot. Here's Pete Buttigieg yesterday.
In the work that we're doing, we have found that not everybody is prepared to hear about justice and equity in the context of transportation. As if transportation is somehow uniquely immune to the impacts of patterns of exclusion and racial injustice that have touched every other part of our society.
Which he's right about, because this infrastructure bill literally addresses the fact that some roads were built to basically box people in and limit their interactions with other parts of the city. The 10 in LA is a great example of that.
I just want to make clear, we're not the ones looking for culture wars. We're just trying to do what's right, healing the broken places in our country.
They're not looking for culture war.
No, they're not. No, they are not. Okay. If of course they're looking for a culture war. Look at him there, being all gay. And you know what I just realized? I wonder if somebody occasionally walks up to Ben Shapiro and goes, "Oh my God, are you Pete Buttigieg?" And every time it's a big muscular dude, it makes him very afraid.
Wars, except for how every single day they're looking for culture wars, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I do as a lefty. I get up in the morning, I open my drapes, I pull out my binoculars, and I scan the horizon for ways that by just being themselves, my friends can fuck with Ben Shapiro in ways that he's not even aware of, just in case he sees it. This is the problem, is that he's worried that there's going to be rainbow highways.
And of course, and this stretches not just from issues of marriage, it also stretches to indoctrinating your kids in radical gender ideology.
Yeah, have you guys seen the gender toll booths? Where you have to, not only do you have to have exact change, but you have to tell them your pronouns or they won't let you into California.
Extends to extending abortion to all stages of pregnancy.
Bullshit. Nonsense. Garbage. Fuck you. How does a clip about Pete Buttigieg literally talking about like roads and the ability for people to interact in cities to they want to liberal women want to get pregnant, get halfway through their 8th month of pregnancy and have an abortion just to own the conservatives.
Kamala Harris, the vice president of the United States, yesterday, she was trying to talk about the GOP and abortion.
While being a woman of color at the same time, like, can't they just let it go? Why do I have to deal with it every time? She's up there, she's talking about stuff, it's making me upset, and she's black at the same time? What is happening?
Suggesting that, again, there's only one priority when it comes to abortion, and that is the autonomy of a woman over her own body. Forget about the countervailing interest of a child in actually living and not being killed. That apparently does not exist, according to the vice president of the United States.
Well, yeah, it does. The limitations on when you can have an abortion or which ones are, medically necessary, let's say, later in the term versus, a 6 or a 15-week limit on those kind of things. The ability to have the choice to do it and fucking contraception. That amount of, I don't know, there's 3 words, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. That should, I think, technically apply to women. I've never met Ben's wife. I'm guessing he doesn't think so, and she agrees, right?
We must stand and say it is wrong-headed and intended to harm when you pass laws that deny a woman a right to make decisions about her body. When you pass laws that suggest there's not even an exception for rape or incest, You know, I personally prosecuted cases involving child sexual assault. It's an uncomfortable topic. People don't want to talk about it, but it's real and it happens. And that child and that woman should not have to endure an act of extreme violence and then not have the ability to have agency and autonomy to decide what happens next.
They always use the edge cases, like a 10-year-old gets raped and then wants an abortion.
Well, then put edge language in and everybody will shut the fuck up, apparently. The irony is that they use the fact that they don't give a shit about edge cases to eliminate all the rights.
By the way, very likely if a 10-year-old gets pregnant that she's going to need an abortion in order to live, because the simple fact of the matter is the 10-year-old...
Yeah, she can't get one though, dummy. That's the point. They don't make an exception for the life of the mother even when she's fucking 10. That's the point. That edge case when the fuck does that happen? Happened a week and a half ago. That's when it happened, stupid.
Year-olds are generally not capable of bearing children, but Kamala...
Yeah, it's only going to come up when it does.
There's a key phrase that she uses there. Intended to harm, right? The idea is that if you oppose her, you intend to harm.
Well, here's the thing. If you give paternal rights to rapists and shorter terms than you would, or the ability to even, with visitation and all that kind of stuff to the rapists in jail, and then terms shorter than burglary, then yeah, you are setting up a situation where you are intending harm, where you are that there is a constant threat of interpartner violence, stalkers, all that shit, and you're just going, we're just not going to deal with that stuff at all because you don't care, and it's a wanton disregard for human life in that regard.
And the same thing from Pete Buttigieg. If you oppose anything in Pete Buttigieg's agenda, it's not...
Well, all due respect, dude, you dress exactly like Pete Buttigieg. So, I mean, obviously, I'm just saying there's some overlapping. There might be some ground where you can agree on.
Not because you have disagreements over the societal standard that ought to be applied to human behavior. No, it's intended to harm. It's intended to harm.
Okay, first of all, let's take to the idea that you believe that women should be forced to carry a baby to term. And in that legislation, you disregard rape, incest, and the life of the mother, which some of these bills do. And you know that those things are going to happen. There is no way anymore. Cops and detectives deal with crime after the fact most of the time. And they stop crime often only by stopping a criminal who will, in future, do more of this awful. So, the biggest purpose of police, for example, is solving a crime that has happened so that the person who perpetrated it will not continue with that crime going forward. There is no reason to believe they would stop, especially in the more egregious crimes, and especially in the case of sexual assault. And what Ben is arguing for is that if a woman is sexually assaulted, she should not have the ability within 48 hours, much less, 5 months from now, going, I don't know if I want to have this criminal's baby. Within 48 hours, arrest the actual conception. That is eliminated. That is slowed down to the point where you make the sort of agreeable early understood aspects of early abortions that have been kind of codified in most people's thinking and is understood throughout most of society. That if you could arrest it before then, this is pre-fetal heartbeat, all that kind of stuff, where you start getting into the deep reads of people's beliefs, and except the most insanely orthodox. That inside that 6-week period, most people are like that. Yeah, a 10-year-old girl should not have to carry a baby to conception. So if that happened and we can stop this because we know it happened, and we don't even know if she's conceived yet, but we can do something like give her the morning after pill or some version of that to protect her from that situation, because she could possibly get pregnant. They're going to eliminate all of that stuff to basically force her to be a brood mare for this rapist. And that dude, even when it's a child in the state of Indiana or one of the or Ohio where it happened, and God knows if that, if he moves, I mean, like if he pick and choose, South Carolina, how about Texas, where the rules, the sentencing is even lower. That dude's going to get 2 years. And then what? Do it again? How many 10-year-olds does he impregnate before you're like, you know what? I think this might be causing unintentional harm.
This is part and parcel of a broader leftist rubric, whereby if you disagree with them, you're not just the culture warriors. You are the people who are putting the country on the brink of disaster.
No. You're just a bigoted asshole. I don't know that if you're like, I don't know where that alignment comes from. Does anybody? That's a big leap. It's a big leap. I just think you're a prick.
And then if you notice this, if you say, guys, you're tearing the country apart.
Guys, you're tearing this country apart by being women and not wanting to be forced to give birth to your rapist baby. Don't you realize what you're doing to the country? It's not even that you're trying to abort America, lady. And by lady, I mean miss. I mean little girl. What the fuck?
That is when the media jump in and they say, well, you're the ones who are provoking.
Somebody's very sensitive today. And every day.
So if you push to the left, if you greenlight riots in the middle of 2020.
Nobody greenlit riots, dummy.
If you, like Vice President Harris.
If you greenlight hanging the vice president while your supporters are going up the steps, and then you're like, I could stay in this party.
Try to bail out rioters in the middle of riots.
Protesters who were scooped up with rioters.
In 2020. If you push on the idea that children can be boys or girls and they should be taught that boys can be girls and girls can be boys.
Boys, so they are. So as long as you leave out the non-binary stuff, I'm okay.
If you suggest that all forms of human sexual relations are morally equivalent and that must be taught at every level and enshrined in every area of American law. If you
no, I first of all, I'm against sodomy laws because it's none of your fucking business. And just because you're terrible at sex doesn't mean the rest of us want to try something new every so often. Also, sodomy is not just anal sex. I'm sorry to upset some of the people on the right. That includes any sexual act that is not directly for the purpose of procreation. So, like, I don't know, like humping a flag, for example. That would be sodomy. So every time you see Trump humping a flag, it is a form of sodomy. You could call him a rampant sodomite for every time he rubs his crotch on a flag. But that's true. Sodomy is not just anal sex. It is any sexual act that does not lead to or is not for the purpose of direct. Yes, no blowjobs, no nothing, no. Yeah, fellatio. Yes, is codomy. I see. Yes, the purpose is the act of sodomy is anything that does it. So, yeah, and again, considering what we know about Ben and his sexual issues at home, sodomy laws will never affect him. He's like the Eric Idle character in the "Every Sperm is Sacred" Monty Python sketch from. Yeah, you're like, well, we've had sex twice and we have 2 children, but anytime I want, I could go down to the pharmacy and ask for a condom.
Suggest that any restriction on abortion whatsoever is an attack on a woman.
No, not at all. Nobody was while Roe was in standard operation, and it was the understood law of the land. That the only time anybody came up with there's an attack on women is when some of these assholes tried to pass a law that you couldn't have an abortion past a certain point, including if it the life of the woman was in danger because fuck her, she's not important, the baby is. That's the only time it came up. And also, by the way, can we all go back to the beginning of this stupid video when Ben was talking about what the left does is they take some sort of radical position and then they blow it up and act like everybody acts that way. And what he's doing is he's finding some, rando video of a woman or a non-binary person or somebody at one of these abortion rallies, standing there going, I think a woman should be able to have an abortion every second, just on her say so, like that kind of thing, which is not the general opinion of Democrats. It's not the general opinion of liberals at all. Nobody wants that. And most of the time when a woman finds herself that late in a pregnancy and she has to do something, she has to have an abortion, it's usually a torturous decision. She's already painted the room and picked out the toys. But what this points to is that this is what Ben Shapiro sees. When he looks at a woman, women are effectively Eve. If you let them, they will eat the apple again. They fucked it up to start with and left. If women are allowed to be in charge or to control certain levels of power or to act on stuff, they will do the worst. They are the primacy element of sin in the partnership. It's their fucking fault. And when he looks at Pete Buttigieg, he doesn't see a happily married man who happens to be gay. He sees a brutal sodomite, perv who wears a zipper hood and some sort of like this deep, dark fantasy that chases him around his bed frame at night. Of what that means. Instead of he can't picture that gay people have normal relations and they simply just copulate different than he does. What he sees is just every gay person he sees might as well be the Gimp from Pulp Fiction. Ben looks like somebody who has a manifesto. I think he's written a book.
And then people say no. Then the idea is that they're the ones who are starting the Civil War. And this is how you end up with a piece by Dave Weigel in the Washington Post titled, On the Campaign Trail, Many Republicans Talk of Violence. In both swing states and safe seats, Republican candidates say that liberals hate them personally and may turn rioters or a police state on people who disobey them. I wonder why people might have that thought. I wonder why people might have the radical thought that there are people on the left who hate their guts.
Well, I'm going to go with, you're an asshole. I think that's why you think that. The rest of the time, most of us aren't giving people like Ben Shapiro a second thought. I mean, believe me, there's a definite level of right-wing autofellatio going on where their sort of media narrative is based on how important they are to themselves. But they're not ginning up ways to wipe you out in the same way, like that's especially on some comparative level with like Eric Greitens' fucking ad where he's kicking in a door with a shotgun and a SWAT team in his fucking ads. Or Marjorie Taylor Greene is using a 50 cal to shoot up a fucking Prius just to make a point about like, I'm going to drive a gas guzzler. Fuck y'all. Boom. All these ads literally have guns in them. And it's not like I have let me tell you a little story. I have a handgun that I carry. I have a permit for it. And I believe every American should have the right to defend themselves. And I had a situation years ago that made me make that decision. And it's carrying a gun around is a tough decision, but I do it because my beliefs are such as this. But I don't glorify them, but I do think it's important to our way of life. None of these assholes are making an ad about gun rights that looks like that. They're all just clack, clack, blah, 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 blah. Like, it's macho bullshit. And compared to like Democratic ads where they're like, homelessness is a problem, we should help people, like that it's somehow there's a parity between these two things. And what ultimately is that sure, Republicans are releasing ad after ad of these assholes with like rifles, handguns, and fucking military weapons and talking about kicking in the doors of their members of their own fucking party and hunting them as trophy kills. And yet what's the real problem is that Ben might be under the impression that people on the left think he's a grotesque bigot and don't like him.
And why would they think that after listening to the Vice President of the United States say that if you're pro-life, it's because you have intent to harm?
No, that's not true. You can be pro-life. The fucking president is pro-life, dummy. If you write a law that excludes the right for a woman to have an abortion, even if her life is in danger, or you force a 10-year-old to carry a baby to term when you know it's not a rarity, that you want that to happen. You know there's a solution to it. You know it does not entail a third trimester abortion of a child. You do know that in most cases that 10-year-old girl will develop that fetus inside her, and then it will kill her on the way out and probably not survive itself. You know that and not only did that happen once 10 years ago, that's the kind of shit that was just faced in an issue immediately when this ruling came down. So yes, you have intent to harm.
Why might they think that?
Because it's wanton indifference. You think women are brood mares, and you know something's going to happen, and not only are you not doing anything to mitigate when it happens, you are strategizing on ways to guarantee that it happens. That's why.
Why might they think, after listening to Pete Buttigieg suggest repeatedly that you're a bad person if you disagree that homosexual marriage and heterosexual marriage are morally equivalent? This means
I don't give a fuck if you're a bad person. Argue it all you fucking want. But your belief system as a bigoted prick, which, I mean, it's a good freeze frame. I think that basically understand that this is the face that this is him picturing Pete Buttigieg's marriage right now. This is the face he makes. Nobody gives a fuck. Like, honest to God, you can be a bad person. There's been bigots this whole goddamn, on Earth. Or you're not going to ever get rid of, bigotry or disgusting attitudes by people. You're not going to. But what you can do is establish a law where those bad feelings that people have about you or their attitude about you, for example, Jewish people not being able to go to places of business or like golf courses in particular, in deference to the former president. I happen to think that people who would not allow Jews into their business as regular customers are awful. But I am not, in the United States of America, comfortable stopping there, because they are Americans or visiting foreigners even, who deserve to be treated as human beings like everyone else. I am not Rand Pauling and shrugging off anti-Semitism going, well, some businesses, they'll just do less business. Fuck you. No. If you sell food and they can eat that food, or you sell an activity and they participate in that activity, anybody should be able to come in there as long as they are respectful customers. It's none of your fucking business what they think elsewhere. So yes, you're a bad person. And again, you have every right to be a bad person, but you don't get to take those bad characteristics, like shitty, vacuous, gaping holes in your character, and legitimize them in law, limiting the rights and privileges of people just because you're a fucking bigot. No. And there is no way, and I can't believe we even have to discuss it. There's no fucking way that your marriage is diminished by anybody else's marriage. If it's not diminished by Newt Gingrich's fucking marriages, it's not diminished, certainly, by two gay people who stay together. If the idea that somehow marriage has this grandiose quality to it that is based on a community idea, not based on the two people wanting to make an actual decision to stay together and codify it in their religious beliefs or in their own ethic, whether through a civil union or through marriage. And again, what are you going to do? Hand out if gays have civil unions, but it's not marriage, and then a gay couple says, we got married last week. What are you going to do? Fine them $50 for using the wrong word? Get the fuck out of here. Like, we're literally, these are the free speech assholes. These are the people who look, gay people can get, they can be in relationships and they get, but if they say they got married, then, obviously they aren't. Why? Because I'm married and it means something to me. Well, who gives a shit then? What's the standard for marriage then? Britney Spears? Michael Jackson? Jeffrey Epstein? This is, they never got over this shit. This grinds him fucking regularly.
Means that you're a bigot. Why might they think that they are under some sort of dire threat? Why? It's all a mystery wrapped in an enigma.
Okay, by the way, a gay character. That line was said in JFK by a gay character.
When they listen to people on the left suggest that disagreement amounts to a form of violence and that they are about to overthrow the country, why do you think people might feel a little bit threatened? For example, Al Gore, right, he's back out of the woodwork now.
Wait a minute. Okay, so for the record, I don't know, like people catching up if you're new, Al Gore's straight, married to the same woman that he's been married to forever. I don't know. I guess this has to be a climate change thing. You get the feeling that Ben's feeling judged these days. Ben, just so you know, I will literally fight anyone who tries to materially discriminate against Jewish people, Orthodox or Reform, from being able to participate in any aspect of American life. I find anybody who would even suggest it to be a grotesque fucking bigot. But that does not mean that your beliefs should therefore override other people's in ways that I would protect yours. But let's see what he has. So Al Gore's coming out as trans, I suppose.
Because it's really hot. Every time it gets hot during the summer, we call Al Gore out of the woodwork to fly his private jet into the green room at CNN and explain just why things are so bad. Al Gore over the weekend suggested that people who disagree with him on the climate are like the Uvalde officers who allowed a mass shooter to murder children in a class.
Yeah, it's a good analogy. They stand by knowing they should do something, but they don't.
Classroom while doing nothing. Here is Al Gore, who's gotten extremely rich being a green advocate while raking in the green.
The climate...
I think this is straight up jealousy. Also, he's not in CNN studio, as a matter of fact. I think he's in the ISS. I'm kidding. I'm fairly certain they just have a little broadcast set up someplace, so he didn't have to travel very far at all.
Deniers are really in some ways similar to all of those almost 400 law enforcement officers in Uvalde, Texas, who were waiting outside an unlocked door while the children were being massacred. They heard the screams, they heard the gunshots, and nobody stepped forward. And God bless those families who've suffered so much. And law enforcement officials tell us that's not typical of what law enforcement usually does. And confronted with this global emergency, what we're doing with our inaction and failing to walk through the door and stop the killing is not typical of what we are capable of as human beings.
Well, it's the same. What?
By the way, you notice how many times, and this is going to freak Ben out a little bit more. Man, I'm getting tired of this asshole. This is just, ugh. But, do you notice how many times Al Gore said "we" and in the tail end of that remark? Did he? Yeah, I mean, we as human beings, listen to the tail end of this. Hold on one second. Real quick.
To walk through the global emergency, what we're doing with our inaction and failing to walk through the door and stop the killing is not typical of what we are capable of as human beings.
What?
We, us, all of us.
It's the same. Why might you think that people like Al Gore hate you? Why?
Well, I'm going to just go with it's your voice. I mean, because at the same time, even though he obviously hates you, Ben, and to be fair, most people do. And the closer they are to you, Ben, the more they hate you. You know this. But I would say that the irony is that even though Al Gore clearly hates you from afar, he might even be on IO at this point. That might have been in some sort of halo-like capsule that's floating around the ring of Mars, the edge of gravitational field of Mars. He does hate you. He really, really does, and no one can blame him. But ironically, he still doesn't want you to die. Isn't that weird? And that, I think, would be the great example of the difference between the two types of the both-sidery hate aspects that you're kind of throwing off here. Is that I fucking can't stand you, Ben Shapiro. I am grossed out by your idiocy, your blathery Adderall stream of consciousness yammering. I think your production value of your show, no matter where you are, even when you're in a hotel someplace, where you're basically reading from your laptop, is just get a radio show, man. Why film it? What the fuck is that? But secondarily, like I don't like this dude. I do not like him. But you bet your ass if anybody wanted to deny him the ability to go somewhere because he was Jewish, I and everybody in my chat room would be there to protest that. Because it is in one ways, it is immutable due to his birth, but also a choice characteristic based on the fact that his religious beliefs and how he expresses them are integral to his own belief in himself. And both of those two things, I believe, should be protected in the United States, even if I disagree with them. The only place they stop is when you try to put that belief system on someone else.
Why? It's again, giant mysteries. And MSNBC's Malcolm Nance. Right? So Malcolm Nance, he and I appeared together on Bill Maher, where he suggested that every Republican was complicit in January 6th and wanted to overthrow the government, and that we were at the moment when democracy was going to be overthrown by these people. But if you notice that that's extreme radical rhetoric that borders on the Civil War type of rhetoric.
Asshole, you're just conflating rioters in 2020. You said that the Democrats greenlit the destruction of American cities.
That has been common throughout American history, unfortunately. If you note that, then that's because you want the Civil War. Here's MSNBC's Malcolm Nance predicting that there will be no more elections ever if Republicans win, which, by the way, is kind of a Civil War-like call, right?
No, it's not. No, it is an election-related call. Go out and vote. If you just shrug this off, they will control elections from the state house all the way up to the Senate, and then eventually the presidency, and then they will shape this around the Electoral College so they have a way of weighting it in their favor for decades in a way that will be hard to upend. It is not the same fucking thing as saying if they win in the fall, they cheated, and therefore we got to take up arms. It is nothing like a Civil War, reference in that regard. But what I will tell you is the Eric Greitens ad is all this bullshit Second Amendment solution nonsense we've been hearing from Republicans for years that this asshole wants to shrug off.
If the suggestion is, if your opponents win, it's the end of the country, what choice do you have but to use...
Jesus Christ, what do you think the Republicans were saying? And they did charge the Capitol.
...every tool at your disposal to stop them from winning.
No, it isn't. Buy a gun, because if the elections go the wrong way this fall, that's not what he's saying at all, asshole.
Here's Malcolm Nance.
The Democrats, Joe Biden, all the rest of them need to understand they are, what are we, July, August, September, October, November. You are 4 months from the end of American democracy. 4 months. And we said that in 2020, and that was true then too, right? But now you're talking about putting a party in power in which there will never be another election. They will vote through every piece of legislation and defund every component of the United States government. They're not joking about impeaching Joe Biden every week, okay, and Kamala Harris, and getting rid of people or expanding the Supreme Court, whatever it is they think they can do, even though some of it's crazy. First thing that they said, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert said, we will criminally prosecute every person who took part in the January 6th investigation.
Guys, if we don't stop those evil people who disagree with us
by voting,
they are going to burn down the country. So
no, they are going to get rid of the ability for you to have democratic elections on purpose. They are going to gum up the works and get rid of all of the programs that people rely on. They have no interest in governing. I mean, basically, he's trying to what about the violent aspect of right-wingers? This points to, I suppose, a recognition by Ben and the people at the Daily Wire that they are the outliers in the Republican Party right now and pretending to be sort of sensible conservatives and old-fashioned traditionalists in this sea of maggots that they found themselves in. And so they're trying to even it out by going, like taking the 2020 George Floyd riots and going, that's what the left wants for the rest of the world. And that's why we have to get elected, because what they want is just to be able to have is just to set rioters loose on the world. Meanwhile, pay no attention to the January 6th attack.
Use every means at our disposal. What?
No, not every means at our disposal. Where in the fuck did you hear any of the language even close to that? And again, the reason this is even coming up is this shit.
I'm Eric Greitens, Navy SEAL, and today we're going rhino hunting. The rhino feeds on corruption and is marked by the stripes of cowardice.
This is an ad for a Republican running for a U.S. Senate seat who used to be the governor of the state. And what Ben wants you to think is that there are equivalents on the Democratic side. Let me see. Let's see. Let me go with Tim Ryan ad Senate. Let's see. Does he have an ad out yet?
Before we go, and Tim Ryan, Republican.
What do you think?
Is potentially the kind of profile to.
Hold on. I can't even find. I'm trying like, where's a Tim Ryan? Let's see. Yeah. Here's the level of violence in the Tim Ryan campaign. Here it is. This one's called Bullseye.
Defunding the police is way off the mark. We need more cops, not less. My party also got it wrong on the trade deals that sent your jobs overseas. I've always fought those working against you. That's why I'll take on China to bring jobs back to Ohio and fight for a tax cut that puts more money in your pocket. You want culture wars? I'm not your guy. You want a fighter for Ohio? I'm all in. I'm Tim Ryan, and I approve.
And again, that's Tim Ryan. That's how you have to win in Ohio. I'm just saying. That's the ad. You're not going to be running in AOC in Ohio. But he's fucking playing darts. And meanwhile, the rest of these assholes literally have machine guns in their fucking ads. Here we go. Hold on one second. Let's see if I can. Where are they?
Okay, white supremacists by.
See if I can find that. Like,
do you hate Mexicans?
Well, here you go.
Are you a racist? Do you hate Mexicans? The media calls us racist for wanting to build Trump's wall. They censor us, but it doesn't change the truth. Joe Biden's open border is killing Ohioans, with more illegal drugs and more Democrat voters pouring into this country.
More Democrat voters.
This issue is personal. I nearly lost my mother to the poison coming across our border. No child should grow up an orphan. I'm JD Vance, and I approve this message because whatever they call us, we will put America first.
Yeah. Are you do you hate Mexicans? Are you a racist? Well, join me. Fucking hell.
Why might Republicans feel threatened? I don't understand. They're only attacking, the left is only saying that if you back fundamental societal institutions, it's because you're a bigot. And if you notice health statistics.
No, you can back them all the fuck you want. You just can't back them over my foot.
It's probably because you're a bigot. And if you are a person who does not agree with Al Gore on climate, it's because you're essentially a passive murderer. And also you want to overthrow elections. But probably there are people who want to live with you, the people who are saying this sort of stuff. Probably. How's this for a title?
Oh, God. It sucks. Al Gore compared them to what? They love lying to you. Jesus Christ. You're watching HAL SPARKS Mega Worldwide. That's a clip posted by Ben Shapiro that was allegedly about Al Gore, and it was 9 minutes long, and Al Gore showed up in the clip at the 6 minute and 39 second mark. There he is, 6:36, sorry. Out of 9:47, at a 6 minute wind up into this shit, because Al Gore thinks that we, as a people, are like the Uvalde cops standing by outside an unlocked door, you know, a door we could clearly go into. There are solutions available, and we are not taking them. Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ. Like, and again, it's they've got to crank these out, I guess, because of all the places that are, you know, online that are eating their lunch over at the Daily Wire, the biggest one right now is Russell Brand. Rusty Trombone has been coming for their audience. And it's working because it is changing how the people at the Daily Wire and Ben Shapiro name their videos. They are looking at what he's doing in the algorithm, and they are choosing to do it. By the way, I don't, so I need your support. So like and subscribe, give a thumbs up, and enjoy the show. If you know, pass it around if you do. And there you go. All right, now, how many words he spew out in 6 minutes? I think 65 minutes worth of. I think it's 10x. I had to lower the pitch on that video and slow it down so that we could even make out that it was It was English after a while. If you listen to Ben Shapiro in its natural sound, if you lower the pitch without lowering the speed, it sounds like the dial-up tone you would get from AOL Online. So now, can we? All right. Many times we deal with the. I would say the underlying lie of the sort of modern Republicans these days is that Trump and what he did with his kids and the fact that Jared and Ivanka made billions of dollars while he was in office and they weren't paid employees, but they had all the privileges therein and all that stuff, and that they were shuffling around the world, and as long as he gets a little piece of it, he's fine. Points to a level of criminality unmatched, except by apparently Hunter Biden. Now, for the record, and I will state this as a truism, you can deal with it however you want, and this is directed at trolls or anybody who watches this. There is no Hunter Biden laptop. It does not exist. And the hard drive being passed around by Rudy Giuliani and his ilk has had material added to it, not only after it was received from John Paul McIsaac, but before that. Somebody, not Hunter Biden, allegedly was monkeying around with that one of the 3 laptops that were dropped off, allegedly, at the Mac shop, the repair shop. All 3 of them wet, waterlogged. He was able to say, John Paul McIsaac says he was able to save files from one of them, but it kept dying and he just kept copying. And that was that. That's it. And then he, of course, gave it to some FBI agents whom he does not know the name of, who were contacted through. They contacted him through Rudy Giuliani's lawyer and his own father from upstate New York because he was afraid to go into the. Never mind. He'll probably tell us the story again. But this is the latest. Huh? On the Hunter Biden laptop situation. Well, the situation is that there is no laptop. But this is the latest. And he's going to fill us in. There's some gaps in the story. People have had this issue for a while, myself included. So it keeps coming up. You know, it's kind of like 2,000 Mules. People watch it and go, this. You know, you feel like Columbo when you're watching it. There's one thing, if I may say, that's been bothering me. This is John Paul McIsaac on Newsmax.
He is the actual founder and the owner of the shop. The original shop where the Hunter Biden laptop was dropped off by Hunter Biden.
No, he never saw him. He was not there when whoever dropped it off. That part's a lie. Even he admits that. That's not, like, you can allege that it was dropped off. He couldn't find the receipt later. And he had to find one later, and then the signature's wonky, and it was a picture of it that he. Okay.
With a receipt signed by Hunter Biden, with his phone number next to it. John Paul, appreciate you joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me on the show.
All right.
By the way, John Paul McIsaac is legally blind. He can not see 6 inches past his face. He's the witness. Okay.
So let's break this down.
Yeah, break it down. Oh, all right.
I walks into you're actually, as I understand it, legally blind from some distance and can't.
From some distance. So a guy.
Readily available, readily identify people very easily.
That's true, Mr. Biden. You are Hunter Biden, I presume. I always presume everyone I'm talking to is Hunter Biden.
Easily. Now, he came in, drops off this laptop.
Who?
Says fix it, never comes back to get it, and all of a sudden you start going through your receipts and you find out, hey, this is Hunter Biden with his signature, with his phone number. I better alert somebody. Tell me how this broke out from your shop and was turned over to whoever, and how these files actually got out.
Yeah, break it down for me, because we watched this before. 5 minutes. You got 4 minutes, 10 seconds to tell us that whole thing. Motherfucker. Am I have to go through all this shit again? All right.
Well, so when it became my property
When it became my property, it was never your property, fucko.
mid-July of 2019, because he abandoned the laptop in my possession. He came back in twice, or he came back in after the first time to drop off a hard drive. So he was answering his phone. He was getting his messages. He just stopped coming in, and he never paid for it. And after 90 days that I explained to him on the paperwork that he signed,
he kept calling me from the number that was on there that he doesn't use anymore. He came back in a couple of times, and after 90 days, he didn't pay for it. He just, I forgot to, did you call him to tell him that it was ready?
It became my property.
And by the way, his original story was he saw the Beau Biden sticker on it. Hold on. Let's see. Hold on. Get out of there, stupid ad. Okay. There you go. The New York Post. The night I met Hunter Biden, Mac shop owner John McIsaac recounts fateful encounter in exclusive excerpt. On a fateful night in April 2019, John Paul McIsaac was working at his store, the Mac shop in Wilmington, Delaware, when a customer walked in who would upend his life. In his forthcoming book, American Injustice, My Battle to Expose the Truth, Isaac will tell his story. And here, in an exclusive first look, he describes the moment he met Hunter Biden. It was a Friday night, 10 minutes before the shop's closing time. I was checking out a website about CNC machines and woodworking. I had no intention of working late. I was ready to go after a long and busy week. But then, bright, cool LED headlights bounced off the counter from the front window. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. My vision of leaving the shop quickly faded as the door chime sounded. As was usual for this time of the day, I thought, what kind of person expects quality service right before closing time? Obviously, I knew Hunter Biden. Please, God, let this book be available on tape. Oh, God. What kind of person expects quality service right before closing time? This is the kind of person who would do crack. I struggled not to roll my eyes when in stumbled a man clutching 3 MacBook Pros. He was about my height, 6 feet tall, but a little heavier. He wore casual clothing, dark blue and gray. Alcohol fumes preceded him. He slid the 3 laptops onto the bar counter as he fumbled for a seat. I'm glad you're still open, he said. I just came from the cigar bar, and they told me about your shop. But I had to hurry because you close at 7. He looked older than me, but had a surprisingly high-pitched voice. An air of entitlement radiated off of him. Great, I thought. Another one who thinks the world revolves around them. I don't know why this shop closed. To him, I said cordially, I didn't say that, I thought it. You made it just in time. I need the data recovered off these, but they all have liquid damage and won't turn on. He said liquid damage. He didn't say water damage? Liquid. All right, sure. Well, let's get you checked in and see what's going on. One of the computers had a Beau Biden Foundation sticker covering the Apple logo, but I wasn't sure at first whom I was talking to. I opened my customer relationship management software, CRM, and asked him for his first name. Hunter, he said. I then asked him for his last name. He paused and looked at me funny, as if I were from another country, and how dare I not know who he was. Biden, he responded with a sarcastic edge. I collected his phone and email and fed them into the system. Once the paperwork was started, I paused and remembered that this guy had lost his brother Beau about 2 or 3 years earlier, and I felt a little bad for him. All those awful thoughts I'd had. Maybe it wasn't sarcasm. Maybe it was just how people talk. Maybe the Mac with the stickers belonged to his now deceased brother, and it would bring closure to have access to those memories trapped inside. On any other night, especially a Friday, being that I was very single. Ladies. What? On any other night, especially a Friday, being that I was very single, I would have collected the machines and looked at them the next day. For some reason, maybe misplaced compassion, I decided to check them over then and there. One at a time, I performed a quick inspection of the machines. The 15-inch laptop was a complete write-off. It had extensive liquid damage. And because the drive was soldered to the logic board, data recovery was beyond my capability. If a Mac can't power on, you won't be able to access the drive and get to the data. The 13-inch 2015 MacBook Pro was in slightly better shape. It could boot up, but the keyboard was unresponsive. I pulled out an external keyboard and asked for permission to log in. Hunter started laughing. My password is fucked up. Don't be offended, he said, before announcing that it was anal effing 69. Anal F69, or something to that extent. His inebriated condition made it difficult to understand is speech. Well, all right, sure. It was difficult to understand is speech. His eyes widened a bit, and I told him that maybe it would be best if he tried to log in himself. Hey, you fixed it, he stated, slurring slightly. I asked if he had an external keyboard that he could use to get around the failure of his internal keyboard, and he just looked at me blankly. Here, you can borrow this one to perform the recovery yourself. That way I don't have to check it in and bill you. Just bring it back when you're done. It would have been less work for me that day, and again, I felt bad for this guy. I pulled the blinds and locked the door to avoid any more interruptions. We were alone. I loosened my tie. I'm kidding. Then grabbed an Amstel light from the fridge and planted himself... What? I pulled the blinds and locked the door to avoid any more Then grabbed an Amstel light from the fridge and planted myself in front of the recovery Mac. Here's where things started to get interesting. The previous recovered window was open on the left, and I was waiting for hundreds of files on the original to populate the right. Scrolling down, I started to see files that didn't align. I started to individually drag and drop the files to the recovery folder. It took only a few minutes before I noticed pornography appearing in the right column. That pornography is pictured here. This is a vocational hazard. I'd gotten rather used to it and gave it no mind. I was a little amazed by the sheer quantity, though, and by the boldness of leaving porn files on one's desktop. Again, it was nothing I hadn't seen before, so I kept dragging and dropping. It generally is well known what people do on and with their computers. The industry as a whole tries not to think about it. The industry as a whole tries not to think about it. It's gross, but I was hired to do a job, and I was going to do it. Oh shit, I thought, pausing. The preview image in the right column was clearly displaying the customer. He was wrapped in a red scarf, wearing what looked like a jockstrap. I couldn't help but chuckle. How embarrassing, I thought. Who on God's earth would feel comfortable with this lying around on their desktop? But I shook it off and continued down the list of files. It didn't take long before another one appeared, and then another. Hunter, with his salt and pepper stubble, stared into the camera, attempting to look cool while taking a naked selfie. Gross! How many of these does he have, I wondered. It wasn't just him alone either. Although it looked like he was having a love affair with himself, there were photos with women. I decided I'd had enough, that I was no longer going to preview the data. I would just go by the file name and hope for the best. And I tried to work out how to keep a straight face when he returned for the recovery data. This is the cover, by the way, of the book. My battle to expose the truth. American injustice. I continued copying files until I got to one entitled income.pdf. I likely wouldn't have even noticed if it hadn't been tagged with a purple dot. On a Mac, you can apply tags or color codes to files as an organizational aid. It seemed odd that someone would clearly had zero organizational skills would bother tagging this one file purple. It was begging to be clicked open, so I did. That night, this motherfucker is rifling through this guy's income statements. The fuck out of here. Income.pdf with a purple. All right. Let's see if this matches up. How'd it go? He came in. You were doing the story. Run this by me again.
And I explained to him on the paperwork that he signed. It became my property. And I had seen some things on that laptop which made me very concerned for my safety, but also
fuck you
for national security.
Bullshit. He's the first time he opened it, dude was looking through the financial documents in it.
So I felt like it was time for the FBI to take this, and
you called your dad.
Unfortunately, they didn't. And then I tried several members of Congress to get their attention and alert them. And
that's new, by the way. Nonsense.
It fell on deaf ears. So eventually, I gave it a copy to a lawyer representing Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, there you go. The FBI didn't take it. Now, if you'll recall, the last time we talked to this asshole, he was on Eric Bolling's show, and he said that FBI agents came and picked up the hard drive, or picked up the laptop, and supposedly all copies, except for the copy that he kept for himself that he gave to Rudy Giuliani's lawyer. But when those guys came, he doesn't remember who they are, he doesn't have their names, but they said, you know, people who keep quiet about things like this don't usually end up dead. And then they called later and said, if Hunter comes back for his laptop, let us know and we'll bring it back, which is exactly what the FBI does.
He was representing the President of the United States, because I tried the Department of Justice and they didn't act on it. And then I tried Congress, they didn't act on it. And so I figured the executive branch was the best way to go. And that was the end of my involvement at that point. Bob Costello and Rudy Giuliani's team decided that the New York Post was the best course of action. I requested that my information be kept private. Unfortunately, that didn't happen.
Yes, unfortunately, that didn't happen. Especially, but luckily, now that I'm selling a book, they isn't it romantic? By the way, this is the same room he's always doing his show in. The whole thing is about he closed down his Delaware shop, and it's always the same computers in the background. It's that same fucker. He's been working on this 2011 Mac. Like, this is the same one. And this laptop, which he put back there, he has one of those covers on it that makes it an American flag, and I guess he turns it around so you can't see his porn.
Nobody's fault, really, but it just got out and people made the connection rather quickly. And next thing I know, I'm getting death threats. I have to have a police presence at
bullshit
my shop at all times.
Bullshit.
And it got so bad that I had to flee the state and close my business.
Nonsense.
Wow.
Wow, it's so true. And you got those death threats. Why? Largely because people now know from your telling that you looked through all their shit when they came to your shop?
I mean, that's remarkable to me that this is what you had to go through.
Yeah, he didn't have to go through any of it. It's made up. It's bullshit. He doesn't even, by the way, the guy who says it's Hunter, versus the guy who's in the pictures, he never makes the connection, even in that writing, that it's the same guy. He says the guy says his name's Hunter Biden with this air of like, excuse me, I'm Hunter Biden. Because he can't recognize him. Because he can't see.
And what's more remarkable is that, like, hey guys, hello, I have a high crime to send to you.
No, he didn't.
That could potentially compromise which now is the next president of the United States, and nobody took your call. Nobody listened to you. So, as you're seeing this stuff roll out now, is there more stuff on here that we haven't seen yet as a public, to your knowledge?
Well, no. I mean, I looked through every disgusting image on that hard drive twice.
There's stuff that I saw that personally affected me as far as my safety. That I haven't seen released yet, and I prefer if it didn't, because.
Whoa. Are you in some of the pictures?
I just don't need to have that information out there.
What? The fuck are you talking about?
The media has been pretty good about covering a lot of this stuff.
Cat crack, newly obtained Hunter Biden laptop footage?
Or at least some members of the media. It's only
cat crack.
Only been recently that New York Post or Washington Post and the New York Times have acknowledged. Even CNN had a little blurb about how the laptop was real.
It's not.
I don't think it's enough. I think that
No. Well, it can't be enough because you gave it to 2 Russian operatives who were posing as FBI agents, one of which who dressed up as Hunter Biden and came into your shop and pretended to be him while dropping it off and then left.
They're not covering the content that's coming off the laptop.
I was at Cigar Bar and they told me you can't see. Is that fucking true?
Laptop. They're acknowledging it's real. It almost feels like they're covering their bum. They're not prepared to
This guy's not Canadian, is he? I knew it.
admit and cover this as real news, but they just want to put enough out there so that if it comes back to them, that they.
It's not going to. I'm going to say it again. There is no Hunter Biden laptop. This is the biggest bullshit story ever.
Can say, oh no, we said it was real. So I don't think it's enough for justice, at least.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part is that, like,
the unfortunate part is that this is nonsense. The unfortunate part is that the photos, even themselves that are coming out, don't have the metadata that proves where they came from.
Look, I don't want this to come out because I want it to make Hunter Biden look bad. I want it to come out because I want to know what we're dealing with and how compromised, if at all, which I believe Joe Biden actually might be with 10% for the big guy.
Also, if there's all this scary shit that this dude's like, I'm worried for my life if this stuff comes out, and we're still dealing with text messages that were allegedly on there that you can only see photocopies of photographs of copies of whatever.
You said that you were, a little bit concerned for your safety. Do you want to mention any of those things, or would you rather keep that private?
No, if I mention them, people will look at them twice and compare them to things I've said before and point out that I am full of shit.
No, it was never my responsibility to share the actual contents of the laptop.
Yeah, it was also never your responsibility the night you got it to rifle through the personal documents of the person that allegedly came in and dropped the fucking thing off.
With anybody other than the authorities and people of authority. And I still...
People of authority, like Rudy Giuliani's lawyer.
Feel that way. There's a lot of people out there that have done incredible journalism.
Yeah, everybody smokes crack to sleep.
On the subject. Miranda Devine's book is...
garbage. Oh my God, smoking in a tub. Are we gonna all find out the Lou Reed photos that they just cropped Hunter Biden's head onto?
For a lot of the contents, we've seen also a lot of contents out that haven't been from the laptop that have been.
I beg your pardon. You what now?
Contents. We've seen also a lot of contents out that haven't been from the laptop that have.
I'm sorry. Say that again.
The contents. We've seen also a lot of contents out that haven't been from the laptop that have been reported to be from the laptop, and we have to be careful about what's real and what's fake.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing by calling bullshit.
Because the last thing I want is laptop to be discredited and never used as evidence.
Yeah, it's never going to be used as evidence, dummy. You fucked that part up already. You know how? By believing somehow. Beg your pardon. Hi, Hunter. I'm just moving over real quick. There you go.
Because then everything I fought for and lost would be wasted.
What'd you lose, dummy? Honest to God, there's nothing about this that would stop anybody from going to this asshole's shop more than the fact that the night he got it, he saw a file on there. Let's see. Previously, this is the night of, allegedly, because they might have the Post might be fucking him by using clips and just putting shit from the book in order. But as far as my reading, he can borrow this one. It would be less. Okay, I pulled the blinds at this point in the story. So Hunter Biden just stayed there with him. Just bring it back when you're done. It would have been less work for me that way. And again, I felt bad for this guy. I pulled the blinds and locked the door to avoid any more interruptions, grabbed an Amstel light from the fridge, and I'm going to totally get like promo they're going to send me. I'm going to be doing ads for Amstel light. Here's where they got interesting. The previous recovered window. He's working at it right there. This is vocational hazard. He's looking at this stuff. And then he goes, I continued copying files till he got income PDF. This is Friday night. And understand, this dude is fucking single. He's like super single. And he was going to get a little bit of this. Let's see. It was an email from January 16, 2017, saved as a PDF. At the top, there were the years 2013, 2014, 2015. Next to each year was the amount of taxable income earned: 833,000, 847,000, 1,274,000. Jesus Christ. And again, this dude he's still got a copy of this thing. I was blown away. All that money and this asshole couldn't spring for a backup drive. Well, John, this might be a clue that you were brought this bullshit for a reason, because you were the only blind Mac repair person they could find. I read on. Amounts that I could never even imagine earning were broken down by the year. Then I read, since you couldn't have lived on $550,000 a year, you borrowed some money from RSB in advance of payments. I was speechless. This guy couldn't live on more than 10 times what I earned every year. The whole document seemed shady. Why? I saw that a lot of money had exchanged hands, and it didn't seem like it had been recorded lawfully. What do you mean lawfully? But what did I know? Plus, it was none of my business. Exactly. It wasn't my job to judge. Exactly. Just to transfer and verify. Exactly. So I kept transferring data until I hit a rather large file. The file was about half transferred when the screen went blank. Damn it. The battery had run out. I decided to call it a night and go home to rest my eyes. About 100 gigabytes were left to go. And I felt confident that I could knock it out the next day. I let the MacBook charge overnight and went home, but not before thoroughly washing my hands. When Hunter Biden didn't return for the computers for more than a year, Isaac turned the laptop over to the FBI. Later, a copy was given to the New York Post, excerpt with permission from American Justice, coming in November from publisher Liberatio Protocol. Yeah. Very excited about the whole thing. I'm sure it's going to have a fold out.
Right. Now,
right.
It is shocking to me that as little people listen to you early on in the situation. What's even more shocking.
For the record, I listened to everything he said. That was the problem.
Is that you're saying there's stuff on there that hasn't come out yet, and I'm not sure. You even say it might not even come out at all if you had your way. But it's scary to think that this is the level of security the son of the President of the United States, a senator for 4 decades in D.C., had on his laptop. Shocking me. John Paul Mac.
What are you talking about? What part of it? You haven't seen it yet. It's been 2 fucking years.
Isaac, I appreciate you being here. I'm sorry that you have to go through all this stuff.
Go through what? Everybody learning that you're an untrustworthy asshole?
Well, thanks for having me on the show and let me tell my story.
You didn't tell your story. You told another version of the fucking story. Again, I would like to remind everyone, including both of these idiots, there is no Hunter Biden laptop. Whoever came in was not Hunter Biden. He doesn't even claim that it actually was. He says the person said it was Hunter Biden, but he couldn't pick him out of a lineup anyways. He just smelled like alcohol, and he stayed more than 8 inches away from his face. So he's about my height, 6'3", scruffy, smelled of alcohol. Must be Hunter Biden. For the record, not. I mean, I will get the book when it comes out, because there will be so many fucking holes in that story that he will accidentally plug with turds. I'm very excited to go through that whole thing and just read his take on it, because it does not already the piece that I didn't even know that excerpt had been put out in the New York Post, and already there are things that do not line up with the last time he was on Eric Bolling's show, when when this guy, you know, when Eric Bolling was actually doing the show and this guy wasn't filling in. Hunter Biden probe hits critical juncture. Look at the title of this shit. Hunter Biden probe, what? How? What's the critical juncture? The fuck? Anyways, I stand by it. Oh, Tony Dow is not dead. Oh, that's good. News came from Facebook. It was reported by the Times and WAPO. Tony Dow is not dead. Long live Tony Dow. That's great. I'm just not, I swear to God, I am not, ugh. Oh, like, that's a funny title, though. Hold on. Get out of here. 1 second. Get out. I'm gonna quit it. That's a funny title. Leave It to Beaver star Tony Dow still alive. Wife mistakenly believed he was dead. Leave It to Beaver star Tony Dow still alive despite a death announcement posted on his official. Dow's management said his wife, Lauren Shulkin, believed her husband was dead and passed that message on to his team. According to, she was reportedly distraught over the error. This morning, Tony's wife, Lauren, who was very distraught, had notified us that Tony passed away and asked that he notify all his fans. As we are sure you can understand, this has been a very trying time for her. We have since received a call from Tony's daughter-in-law saying that while Tony is not doing well, he has not yet passed. Tony's son Christopher and his daughter-in-law Melissa have been by his side comforting him, and we will keep you posted on any future updates. The original Facebook post has been deleted. It's a difficult time. How did she think? Was he just... But under hospice care, and that his father is indeed alive, but he was under... Okay, so he's under hospice care. He's approaching reality, so regularly it's really heartbreaking. He's got cancer, and it came back. Leave It to Beaver cast. Aw. That's Eddie Haskell. He passed away not too long ago. This is not the first time celebrity's death is prematurely announced. Last year, former Bond girl Tanya Roberts' publicist and partner mistakenly announced she had died. All right, so there you go. You got to end this with good news. I think it's lovely. So I'm going to, in this last little bit, because I've got a few minutes left, I can slice off some of this garbage. Although, I have to say, like, does anybody think that this asshole said anything in this that's worth giving a rat's ass about? And also, can I just say that I think didn't Trump, hold on, Trump in Washington, he gave a speech Washington that live speaks of America First Policy Institute annual summit live day 7 full speech on F5 policy. I'll see if I see, because he spoke at Turning Point and then basically went over and gave the same stupid speech he's in DC, and he went and let's see. Did they? Yeah, they've turned. I think they turned. There ain't no doubt I love this land. Yeah, so they. Oh, they forgot to do it. Hey, you. What's going on? Ugh. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. This is not good. Well, hey, you boy. You good boy. I should just do a bad lip reading of this whole thing at some point. Yeah. Hey goo. You. I'll just stand here. Oh, I'm just gonna There they are. Look at them. Any hot ones out there? Or nope. Just I gotta move out of the way. That was big. Oh, can't stand there too long. It was weird. Hey, you. Yep. They're playing the whole song. They're not supposed to play the whole. They're not supposed to play the whole song. Standing here like a dickhead. Song's almost over. I'll move closer. And just stand here like a dipshit. Can you fade it out? Hey. Hey, you. Hey, you. Hey, you. Avocado. Okay, song's almost over. Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you.
Is it just me, or are these crowds getting smaller and smaller? And, I mean, don't get me wrong, they're all wanting to film him. He's right there. Look how close I am. Because we're in a small room, America First Policy Institute, and they got two little things, agenda written over there, and there's 6 flags. So obviously it's some sort of coded message that the QAnon people have to meet at an amusement park on the tallest roller coaster ride, where we'll all find out at the same time what's really in Hillary's emails. All right.
Well, I want to thank everybody, and it's
Well, then do it.
wonderful to see so many friends and very, very familiar faces. It's
Yes, they're rarer and rarer these days. It's very quiet. I don't know why this audio is that quiet compared to the other ones. I apologize, but then in some ways I don't.
a great honor to be with you. I want to begin by thanking
Then just do it.
the American
Say, let me begin by thanking, not I want to begin by thanking. Fuck, this is so... Take a class on public speaking. Jesus Christ.
First Policy Institute. My, have you come a long way.
Yes.
For hosting me for today's remarks, and
yeah, halfway across town.
In particular, to recognize America First Policy Institute President Brooke Rollins. Brooke,
I hope your check clears. Oh, fuck me. Why am I still here?
fantastic woman. Another fantastic woman is Linda McMahon, chairwoman. And my friend Larry Kudlow. When I want to learn about the markets, I call Larry. Thank you, Larry.
Larry's a fucking moron. Larry believes the money printing inflation storyline. That in and of itself should tell you something.
Thank you very much. We're honored to be joined as well by House Republican leader and a friend of mine and a good man, Kevin McCarthy. Kevin, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for being such a suck up.
And I see
suck up to the fuck up. That's his motto.
Your friend Steve, you don't leave without Kevin, right? Two great people, and thank you very much. And also to the many members, I'd introduce you, but you have so many, would be all day. Many members of House and Senate, former members of my cabinet and administration, and state, local leaders, and countless other distinguished guests. Thank you all for being here. A real pleasure to be with you. Just 2 years ago.
It felt so, I mean, I think that was the most honest thing he said so far. You can tell he's just glad to be anywhere, pretty much.
With the help of many people in this room, we had a booming economic recovery like nobody's seen before.
Well, we've seen it since, and it's actually pretty solid.
The strongest and most secure border in U.S. history.
Thanks, COVID.
Energy independence and even energy dominance.
Still have that.
Historically low gas prices, as you know.
Because no one was going anywhere.
No inflation, a fully rebuilt military, and a
no inflation, unless you were trying to buy toilet paper on the black market.
Country that was highly respected all over the world by other leaders, by other countries, highly respected.
Very much so. I mean, And by leaders, he means Putin, Kim Jong-un, Xi Jinping. That's pretty much it. That was it. Everybody else thought you were a dick.
Very simply, we had made America great again. We made it great again. And
now it's Magoo. Magoo.
We did it by putting
Magoo.
Putting workers first, by putting families first, and
on the, of course, on the bargaining table is chips.
Above all, by putting America first.
It's so true. America first. Wow. So true. We did that. He's already falling asleep. But then a rigged election started.
Now our country has been brought.
We're going to hell.
To its knees. Literally brought to its knees.
No, not literally. I mean, not literally. Quit it. We're literally not literally. I honest to God, this is freaking. I don't even know how to deal with this shit.
And who would have thought this could happen?
Who could have thought? We're all broken inside.
Inflation is the highest in 49 years.
Oh my God.
9.1%. And a lot of people think it's much higher than
Everybody thinks it's worse.
than that. Gas prices have reached the highest in the history of our country.
Yeah, then came back down. So fuck.
We've become a beggar nation.
That's why we're on our knees. We're all on our knees. I don't even know what to ask.
Traveling to other countries for energy. Millions of
Yeah, we're having to bribe Guatemala for monster drinks.
illegal aliens are stampeding across our wide open borders.
That's why we need guys on horseback. But I do think Cupcake would better handle this. More like at some point. What? Hey, dumbass. Stop telling the same bullshit story. All right, go ahead.
Pouring into our country.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we set up. They're pouring into the country. That's what they're doing. We set up water slides over the fucking wall, so everybody just climbs those little. They build these little Home Depot ladders, and then they climb up the wall, and then they slide into the country into giant immigrant buckets. We catch them in.
It's an invasion.
It is. It's an invasion. These babies from Costa Rica sneaking across the border with posing as babies.
Democrat-run cities are setting all-time murder records.
Well, I mean, obviously, some of the best rap.
Our country is being dealt one historic humiliation after another on the.
Well, you are. And they yell USA when you're there, so I can understand how you would think that that you are the same. This is no fucking Cupcake interview. Listen here.
World stage. And at home, our most basic rights and liberties are totally under siege.
That's right. He can't even go out. He can't have free association. He's not allowed to go to group meetings. He doesn't have freedom of speech. He's not even allowed to use a microphone, a teleprompter, or have his remarks filmed in any way. He can't he can't travel freely. And his bodyguards, even his Secret Service detail, aren't allowed to carry guns. I'm fucking with you. I don't know what he's talking about.
The American dream is being torn to shreds, and we will not have a country left if this economic, social, and attack on.
Social and attack. There's socialins. It's like socialists, but they've got a buddy with them.
Civilization itself is not quickly reversed.
Yes, it's going to be the end of the world if the infrastructure bill keeps getting made. What the fuck?
Newt Gingrich, friend of mine who's
got the same number of marriages as you. I think it's important. You guys go to is there a club or some shit?
Our audience told me this morning that our country has not been this weak in terms of prestige and relative economics and respect since the Civil War.
And he should know, because his third wife was born in the late 1800s.
And yet, there is time for us to bring America back from the brink.
Yes.
At the brink.
It is at a brink. We're definitely brinking right now. This is brinksmanship of the brinkiest kind. Go brink yourself.
Gotta bring it back.
We're going to brink it back. We're brinking it back.
The brink.
From the brink.
We gather today on the verge of a historic midterm election. The American people are poised to reject the failed reign of Joe Biden, Nancy Pelosi.
Why didn't you call him Sleepy Joe? Why say Sleepy Joe? Oh, because people will notice you're about to doze off yourself. Say Sleepy Joe, that might wake the audience up at least.
Schumer and the radical left in a momentous landslide. This is an incredible opportunity.
Yes, to unbrink ourselves.
This November, the people are going to vote to stop the destruction of our country, and they're going to vote to rescue America's future.
Yeah. Dude, I got to tell you, I'm starting to fade myself just listening to this bullshit. I wish I could eat something sugary just to keep myself up. Oh, well, that's gross.
I'm here before you to begin to talk about what we must do to achieve that future. When we win a triumphant victory in 2022 and when a Republican president takes back the White House in 2024, which I strongly believe will happen.
Yes, so does Ron DeSantis. He seems to be very convinced that will happen as well. Yeah, we know you don't mean you, dummy. Look at his face. He did the whenever you see him go, he does that little mouth breathe when he's stressed. Love to play poker against this asshole. Probably plays with his cards turned out. He thinks if he can't see his cards, you can't see his cards.
There's a tremendous amount to be done.
Yes, I agree. Get on with it.
From reviving our economy to liberating our energy to restoring our standing in the world. But for this afternoon, I want to speak about some of the core elements of our agenda.
Great. Some real plans. All right, hold on. Let the other dude take over for a little bit. All right, I want to see, you guys know, I want to see the real plans. We want to see the real, this is detailed. We've been waiting for this.
And in particular, public safety, of which we have very little.
Right. I mean, there should just be shit flying everywhere. Hold on one second. This is the, hold on, that's the wrong one. It's very dangerous. The whole world is like, it's a hideous experience. We're all in danger. Right.
There's no higher priority than cleaning up our streets, controlling our border, stopping the drugs from pouring in, and
wait a minute, that's 3 priorities, dummy.
Quickly restoring law and order in America.
Which apparently hinges on the number of Mexicans in the country, I guess.
Under the Democrat rule, in Democrat-run cities, Democrat-run states, and a Democrat-run federal government.
Which is where all the money is made, by the way. Yes, Democrat-run cities where you'll find all the coffee shops and the stores and the jobs.
The criminals have been given free rein more than ever before. There's never been a time like this.
Well, sure there has.
Our streets are riddled with needles.
Oh, are they? I don't know. That's why you can't even go outside. I mean, I have to wear, you have to buy new needle. That's how they get you. Amazon is selling needle shoes.
And soaked with the blood of innocent victims.
Is it also soaked with the blood of guilty victims?
Many of our once great cities, from New York to Chicago to LA, where the middle class used to flock to live the American dream, are now war zones.
Yes, people have gone there. They've been told to go flock themselves.
Literal war zones.
No, not literal war zones. We're not literally on our knees. We're not literally in war zones. There's not. This asshole has been to a war zone. We heard him tell his shit his pants story the other day. It's not. What the fuck?
Every day there are stabbings, rapes, murders, and violent assaults of every kind imaginable.
I don't know. I can look. One of the big things that I hate is when people go, "You can't make this stuff up." Yes, I can. I can make up all kinds of stuff. Whether you would or not, or whether it's a saleable idea is an entirely different thing. But every type of attack imaginable, I just think you're, lacking in imagination. Because I can think up some shit that's just not even possible.
Bloody turf wars rage without mercy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry, I can't hear you over the gunshots. It's brutal. It's like the whole country, it sounds like popcorn popping in the next room.
Parents are worried sick that their kids will get shot on the way to school or on the way back home.
Yes. Some of us are even worried that our kids will get shot at school. It's one of the reasons why we're trying to deal with the amount of guns out there.
Sadists who prey on children are released on bail, but there is no bail and there is no bond. Unique, never happened before.
Yeah, any other crime, you're gonna get held. But if you prey on children, you get a get out of jail free card.
Drugged out lunatics attacked innocent victims at random.
And again, some guilty victims.
Roving mobs of thieves walk into the stores and walk out with whatever merchandise they can carry.
Yeah, that's my argument is I only buy from drugstores that sell in giant steel tubs.
They're left alone. Nobody tells them, don't do this.
Don't do it. Nobody even says it. Why would you? Nobody says to them, don't. Hold on one second. Just. Nobody said to them, why would you? Nobody thought about, why would they? People just walk in and they walk out without they don't do it. They don't even say anything to these people. They just are allowed to just walk in and take whatever they want, and nobody cares. And it's never happened before. It's so sad.
Put it back.
Don't do this. Put it back. Don't take it. Why? Don't leave the store with, you didn't pay for that. That doesn't even look like it's the right size for you. Don't do it. Stop. In the name of love. All right. Fucking hell.
Now, homeless encampments are taking over every public park and every patch of green space in previously beautiful urban centers, and the dangerously deranged roam our streets with impunity.
Yes. Why don't we just shoot the dangerously deranged?
We're living in...
You know what we need to deal with the dangerously deranged is a little bit of punity. You know what I mean?
Such a different country.
So different. We've never had anything like this.
For one primary reason, there is no longer respect for the law, and there certainly is no order.
Yes. There's no respect for the law, and there is no order. There's been a certain amount of no one. There's no law. USA! The law and the order. Law and the order.
Don't nobody's ever going to vote again. There's not going to be any integrity in our voting system.
As the crowd grows, clashes between Trump supporters and Capitol Police officers, clearly outnumbered, intensified.
We're not going to take it anymore. This is our country.
Outside, the Capitol's West Front became a battleground. Inside, the joint session of Congress to certify election results was under
no order. All right, all right. No one to do this.
Our country is now a cesspool.
Also, I would like to say for the record that the reason he's speaking so softly is because he knows how small the room he's in is. That is 100% why he's talking like this. He's depressed because he's speaking to such a small group, but also because there's no moment where he can break away from this speech and walk back and forth while people chant USA.
Of crime. We have blood, death, and suffering on a scale once unthinkable because of the Democrat Party's effort to destroy and dismantle law enforcement all throughout America. It has to stop, and it has to stop now.
It's got to stop. You have to stop it. By the way, I would like to put a pin in this speech for all the people who think that Biden's whispering is somehow problematic. Yes, everyone applaud and remind him that he no longer lives in this town, in a place that people pay for, and he lost. Thank you.
In Philadelphia last month, a 73-year-old man was walking along the street when he was approached by a band of 7 teenagers who attacked him for sport and beat him to death with a traffic cone. Beat him like you've never seen anyone beaten before.
Pause. Okay, I've seen this video he's referring to. They're fucking with this guy. One of them hits him in the head with this traffic cone and he falls down, he hits his head, and it ends up killing him. And then one of them, I think, punches him afterwards when he's on the ground, but he's basically dying and then he dies. It's really fucking sad. And all the kids got, the grown-up kids in it got busted. Hold on. I'm not going to show the video because it's really sad, but, man, there you go. Let's see. Let's see. A 13-year-old girl was shot in the face. Right, it was. There you go. This is the brutal traffic cone attack. There you go. Girl 14 charged with murder, conspiracy, and traffic cone beating death of 73-year-old police death. So this guy's walking. They start fucking with him. They hit him like this, and then this girl hits him with a traffic cone, which is made of rubber. And this is a 14-year-old girl. This is one of the witnesses was 13, and somebody close to them, to this girl, shot them. Whoops, go back. Crap, didn't open this up again. Now I gotta find the place again. Anyways, it's a hideous story. Hold on, here, close ad. We go back to here.
No. I want to take care of the.
We have to.
You saw it take place. We have to be able to go in. You saw 500 people. It's terrible that done. To get more police. It is so. We don't have a country. America first must mean public safety, of which we have very little.
Right.
Free reign more than ever. Mercy. Parents are worried sick that they got respect for the law. It will stop, and it has to stop now. Last month, a 73-year-old man was walking along the street when he was approached by a band of 7 teenagers who attacked him for sport and beat him to death with a traffic cone. Beat him like you've never seen anyone beaten before, laughing as they bludgeoned the life from their helpless victim.
No, they hit him with this, and then one of them made a joke about him being hit in the head because they didn't think he was dead, and they left later. And I'm sorry, but we've all seen beatings far more egregious and violent than this.
Cackling as they left his body on the side of the road, dead. In New York, a 35...
They didn't know he was dead yet, stupid. They hit him with a traffic cone and he fell down. It's a 14-year-old girl. It's terrible. But the idea that there's some sort of like roaming bands of fucking people like, oh God.
5-year-old woman was stalked back to her building by a homeless career criminal. He slipped into her apartment as she opened the
That's in New York. This is a while back.
door, stabbed her repeatedly as she screamed for help, and left her bleeding to death in her own bathtub. Previously, that man had been arrested and released more than half a dozen times. Here in Washington, D.C., just a few weeks ago.
I got news for you. Almost anybody who engages in that kind of crime, with rare exception, has been arrested for other shit half a dozen times.
A hardworking landscaper made the horrible mistake, had the misfortune to blow a few blades of grass into a sitting car, and he was bludgeoned, absolutely bludgeoned and
absolutely bludgeoned?
Shot.
Bludgeoned and shot.
Cold blood at a point-blank range.
Well, you have to bludgeon someone at point-blank range. Otherwise, I mean, you can't... It's very difficult to bludgeon someone from like a block away.
Leaving behind a grieving wife and 2 children. He was a good man. Everybody loved him.
What's his name?
There's so many stories.
What's his name?
I could fill a whole speech with them. I could go on with these stories from...
Yeah, you could go watch true crime shows. You could fill up, and that's one of the reasons why, like, Dateline and all these like true crime shows are on all the time, is because there's plenty of fucking crime.
Months and years. A pregnant woman murdered outside.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
A 70-year-old immediately released, struggling for his life. He probably saw that. So last night, he was so badly hurt he was unconscious, and he was robbed by the person that hit him, the car. All on tape. Some of these chilling stories are difficult to hear.
But I'll tell them anyways, because what I'm here to do today is to talk about solutions.
But the American people need to hear them, and you have to hear them, especially the politicians in the audience that are going to give us the power to bring our country back and to make our country safe.
You don't think the assholes at this they shared these videos with you, dummy?
Murder in our country is up 51%.
Over a time when, and by the way, it was up like 65%. It's going down because we're getting further away from lockdowns.
We must never allow...
We're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the Delta lockdowns. So statistically, we're going to have this spike of things going back to almost 2020 kind of like numbers. And then there's going to be this taper that's going to go into the fall and then continue through next year, because everything's going to be over exaggerated from the year before, and therefore layered on, like inflation, all these kind of things are going to be artificially lower next year as far as how they're viewed slightly because of its year over year.
Allow ourselves to grow numb to the violence that is tearing apart.
Yes, you have to get emotional about it. Anyways. So good. He got punched in the
fabric of our
he got beat to death with his own dog.
Nation.
So sad.
It's time.
By the way, you're watching HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. This is Trump's speech at the America First Agenda Summit, which obviously is about solutions. That's why they had a round table with him where he sat down. He didn't want to give a speech. He just wanted to sit at the end of a big table and they'd all work out, what are the plans? How are we going to deal with this? Well, the problem they have, of course, is that Biden already has. He gave 42 million to cops. You go, Hal. We lost 3 in Desert Storm. I remember their names. That's exactly right, Siha. Like he's just stacking on top of these people just to try and bolster his law and order bona fides.
You have the courage to say what needs to be said and to do what needs to be done.
Which is what? Execute drug dealers? Are we going back to there again?
America safe. We've never had a time like this.
Yes, we have.
We've never had anything close to what's happening right now.
Yes, we have.
We owe it to the victims, we owe it to our families, and we owe it to our country to do the right thing.
Which is what?
In the Make America Great Again movement, we believe that every citizen of every background should be able to walk anywhere in this nation at any hour of the day without even a thought of being victimized by violent crime. If we don't have safety, we don't have freedom, we don't have a country.
Right. And that's what everybody wants too. Is the funding there for that kind of thing? How about what? Here, here's a solution for you. How about this? How about you get rid of all the ghost guns and you throw people in jail for 15 years minimum if they are engaged in a straw purchase at any chain of the straw purchase, from the dealer to the person who's supplying the extra guns who may have been aware that they were selling them through straw purchases specifically, to the person who transported them. Like all those rules you guys want to put about abortion. How about that on gun sales, illicit gun sales? No? Well, until you do that, that's never going to be true.
America first must mean safety first. We have to have safety.
Well, safety third, for the record. Love and adventure are first. I mean, what kind of life do you want to live?
Starting with our new majorities in Congress next year and continuing under the next Republican president, we need an all-out effort to...
The next Republican president. Not the next Republican presidency.
Defeat violent crime in America and strongly defeat it and be tough.
Yeah, don't defeat it weakly. I mean, it's still defeated, but strongly defeat it.
And be nasty and be mean if we have to.
Be nasty and mean if we have to.
Here's what we must do.
Here's what we must do. Here it is. Beyond being nasty and mean.
To restore public safety.
Here's what we need to do to restore public safety. He's done. Look at this. Jesus.
First, we have to give our police back their authority, resources, power, and prestige.
That's why I'm proposing the Resources, Power, and Prestige Act.
We have to leave our police alone.
Yes. Never let them go out with a partner or more backup. Never give cops backup, especially if there's an attack on the Capitol. You want as few. If we had just had one lone cop on the steps, I'd still be president.
Every time they do something, they're afraid they're going to be destroyed, their pension's going to be taken away, they'll...
No, not every time.
...be fired, they'll be put in jail.
No, they don't.
Let them do their job. Give them back the respect that they deserve.
Well, if they deserve respect, that's not a problem. It's the ones that don't deserve respect who reflect badly on all the other cops. That's why the Obama administration put in the cops program to broom those fuckers out, and arguably that would have gotten rid of Derek Chauvin if you hadn't gotten rid of the program the first year you came into office. We need the Chinese system. There, I said it, okay? It's the elephant in the room.
Our great police know what to do. We have to allow them to do it. We need to return to stop and frisk policies in cities and not shy away from it.
What's a little racial profiling amongst friends?
I watched as other politicians recently apologized for stop and frisk where cities were safe. And they apologized, and those cities are no longer safe. So stop and frisk. It works. Do it judiciously, but it works, and it's worked brilliantly.
The taper that happened around New York's crime wave came after the removal of lead in gasoline and an ongoing kind of like growth of city services.
Take the guns away from the criminals who shouldn't be having guns. Let the people that have to have guns, that need to have guns, let them have them.
They do.
But take them away from the criminals.
Right. Now, do you want to do that whole, like, hold on. Now, this is something, look at this. We can build a bridge today. Hold on. Let's see if I can find this.
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
So here's a radical plan. Now, I don't know that a lot of, by the way, this is the meeting where he farted on Dianne Feinstein.
Yes, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Tell us all about this. Hold on. This is louder than the other clip.
Well, in the category, you've spoken about it, Mr. President, gun violence restraining orders.
Gun violence restraining orders.
They're called, California actually has a version of this. And I think in your meeting with governors earlier this week, individually and as a group, we spoke about states taking steps. But the focus
states got to take the step
is to literally give families and give local law enforcement additional tools if an individual is reported to be a potential danger to themselves or others.
By the way, this all came up repeatedly. This might sound like something that happened after Uvalde or after Buffalo or any of these fucking things, right? This is the same story we've been hearing for fucking years. Biden administration actually got bipartisan a law passed, regulations passed. That happened. Didn't happen under this fucker. Art of the deal, remember?
Allow due process.
By the way, we're at 37.9 thousand subscribers. You could be the 40,000th of this. Give it a thought. Like and subscribe. Give a thumbs up. Yada, yada. Here we go.
No one's rights are trampled, but the ability...
Oh, by the way, if you're on Twitch, don't forget to subscribe as well. Thank you.
To go to court, obtain an order, and then collect not only the firearms, but any weapon.
Yeah. Go to court, get a court order, and collect the firearms. Now, look at how he bristles in the seat. Watch, this is fun.
To go to court,
obtain
an order, and then collect not only the firearms, but any weapons in the possession
or maggots, lean in. This is your boy. This is your guy. This is who you want reelected.
Mike, take the firearms first and then go to court.
I'm sorry. You what now?
In the possession
or
of that
Mike,
individual.
take the firearms first and then go to court, because that's another system. Because a lot of times, by the time you go to court, it takes so long to go to court to get the due process procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything. To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first.
No, exactly what he is saying is not. This is just fucking. By the way, if a Democrat said this, you guys would shit blood for a month. I mean, you would be screaming communism and play this clip for Ann Coulter and watch what happens to her. Jesus Christ. But he's talking about taking your guns away without due process. Do you have any idea? You want to talk about destroying the Second Amendment? That's it. Like, what the fuck? Maggots, explain yourselves. Listen to this. What the fuck?
Procedures. I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case.
Okay, listen, you want to know how big a deal this was? Even where all the Republicans in the room were like, what the fuck? Listen for the camera. I'm going to turn the audio up a little bit louder. When he says this shit, listen to the camera shutter.
I like taking the guns early, like in this crazy man's case that just
took. Did you hear that? I like taking the guns early.
Took place in Florida. He had a lot of firearms. They saw everything.
Yeah.
To go to court would have taken a long time. So you could do exactly what you're saying, but take the guns first, go through due process second.
Right. You know, law and order.
If you're a convicted felon and you have a gun, you're off the streets and you know where you go.
Six Flags.
The mere concept of defunding the police should never again be stated or even heard.
Yes, ban phrases that in the name of freedom, ban people saying shit. Especially stuff that Biden ran against.
It is so ridiculous and so dangerous. Likewise, the idea of stripping them of their liability shields. Think of that. They're in trouble. Go out and hire your own lawyer. We're not going to protect you.
I mean, he means qualified immunity.
We cannot strip them of their liability shield.
Qualified immunity. It's not the same thing as a liability shield. Say what it is, dummy.
In any way, shape, or form, we have to.
Well, there's only one form. It's called qualified immunity. It's what it's called.
Stay with our police officers. You're never going to have the great officers that we've had over
officers. No, you're not going to have good, great officers.
The years.
Defunding the police can work. No, it can't, Ethan. It's a terrible idea. It's ridiculous. As a matter of fact, when fewer cops respond to a situation, oftentimes it gets escalated even further because you're alone or there's only one other person. Shootings happen more often in that situation.
Our police officers are heroes, performing a great public service at great personal risk.
Yeah, especially if they're standing on the fucking Capitol steps.
Unbelievably dangerous job. And
yes, especially on the fucking Capitol steps.
By the way, more dangerous today by far than it has ever been.
That's because maggots are threatening police officers.
Rare mistakes are made, but we cannot allow every isolated policing mistake to be turned into a national crisis and all power taken away from our police.
Right. That's why the Obama administration set up the COPS program.
So that people are killed all over the streets of our country. The radical left's anti-police narrative is a total lie.
He sounded a little raspy. Is he sick? Is that what this is? Did he get Omicron?
Let's call it the big lie.
Can that be the big lie so people stop bugging me about the big lie?
Have you ever heard that expression before? The big lie. That's why next year our new majorities in Congress should
Oh, God. This is so fucking dead.
vote to strengthen qualified immunity and other protections.
There, he finally said the right phrase.
For our
he couldn't remember what it was.
great police officers. They have to become our heroes. They are mine, but some people, they don't feel that way. They're going to have to feel
You mean like the Proud Boys?
that way if we're going to have a great country and a safe country. Our law enforcement heroes of our time, they do their duty to protect U.S. citizens and to protect everybody, whether it's our country or other countries coming in to pay their respects to the United States, which they do less and less now.
What? Well, we aren't dying. Maybe that's it. Maybe you pay your respects at a fucking funeral and we're no longer dying because you're out. What?
Because they're afraid to come in. They see all
Yes, they're afraid to come in. Oh.
all the stories of safety and the lack of safety.
Yes, both.
But we must uphold our duty to protect.
Yes, always uphold your duty.
Our police officers. Second, because of the radical Democrats and because of what they've done, driving record numbers of officers to resign, retire, or quit. The police work all together.
That happened, by the way, and the big spike happened in 2020.
New Congress should immediately pass emergency funding to hire and retain tens of thousands more police officers.
Well, it's funny that you should bring that up. It's a curious thing, actually. Let's see where. Hold on. That's it. I got to find the news one on it. July 21st, 2022. Joe Biden will unveil on Thursday, and he didn't do this because he had COVID, but an expanded budget request to Congress with $37 billion in funding for law enforcement and crime prevention for what the White House is calling the Safer America Plan. But Biden's request is aspirational. It's fiscal year 2023, which is for the U.S. government because he signed off on some stuff using executive orders before that. He needs it to be in the actual budget. It needs to be approved by Congress, which it will. Presidential administrations past president often make large, ambitious budget requests. Okay, we've seen this. As a part of his Safer America plan, the White House said Biden will request a fully paid for new investment in approximately $35 billion to support law enforcement and crime prevention, in addition to the president's $2 billion discretionary request for the same programs. According to the White House, the requested funding would be used in hiring and training 100,000 new police officers for accountable community policing, clearing court backlogs, solving murders, and setting up a community task force to share intelligence. The funds would also target crimes not directly related to guns, such as fentanyl trafficking. Moreover, the White House said the plan would establish a $15 billion grant program for states and cities to use over the next 10 years that would prevent violent crime and help in identifying nonviolent situations that may merit a public health response or other response. That's one of the other ideas of not defund the police, but fund the police properly. Oh, thank you, Alan. For the Venmo, by the way, that's one of the ways you could support the show is using Venmo. Patreon.com/HalSparks. Or you can join Twitch if you're on Amazon Prime. It won't cost you a dime, or you can just like and subscribe or give a super chat. Fire up the super chats, fly it away. Benny Loco, thank you so much. Happy birthday to Aaron West. Yay. And Lori, thank you for the super chat. Ernie, thank you for the super chat. Martha, thank you as well. Catherine, thank you. Carl, appreciate it. He was the 666 in the super chat. Ophelia, thank you so much. And I'm glad you drink plain iced tea. There is no other kind. Right.
All across our country.
So across.
To go in the opposite direction.
It's going the opposite of the thing. Biden's already done this, fucko. Here's the thing. There are Republicans in there. Have them support the budget increase for policing. No? Not going to happen?
I haven't seen in a long time
my dick. Thank you.
Any bills wanting to be passed where they give the police strength. It's I haven't seen in a long time any bills wanting to be passed where they give the police strength. It's always where let's take more away, let's take more away, let's take immunity, let's take everything we can, take their pensions if they speak a little bit too tough. Can't do
Yes, take their pension if they speak a little too tough.
that anymore. Our country is going to hell, and it's going to hell.
Is Biden going to do a global warming bill? Well, he wouldn't do the bill. The House would. I mean, he's already... That's their priority, obviously, and he's trying. He signed off on discretionary funding that direction. There's a bunch of stuff in the infrastructure bill and in the rescue package last year that lean us in that direction also.
Very fast.
One of the reasons why they hate the rescue package ultimately is because there was a bunch of climate mitigation stuff in it. Same thing with like smart grid and solar and all this stuff that was in the infrastructure bill.
It's a very unsafe place. We need the largest increase in the hiring of police officers in American history, and that's what this will be. And we'll get that done. I have no doubt, Kevin, we'll get that done. Steve?
Yeah, all they have to do is sign off on Biden's budget request.
We'll get that done. To get more police on the streets than ever before, walking every beat, and with great respect. There should be a squad car on every corner.
Why would you want a squad car on every corner? The fuck?
That's what it takes to stop the killing. Again, I don't want to make this partisan, but every city, every single city is run by Democrats.
Crime in America. A study reveals the 10 most unsafe cities, and it's not where you think. We're surging, only worse. The most dangerous cities in the U.S. as well as the safest cities in America. Money Geek compiled the list of dangerous cities. The team at Money Geek said it was reported on the dangerous cities, crime, safe, blah, blah, blah. Where are they? Here we go. Determining, this is the thing. So why do people Money Geek, 297 countries with 100,000 people, the most safe. Okay, determine the safest cities. And then the thing, where's the list? 10 most dangerous cities in the U.S. St. Louis, Jackson, Mississippi, Detroit, Michigan, New Orleans, Baltimore, Memphis, Cleveland, Baton Rouge, Kansas City, Missouri, and Shreveport, Louisiana. Those are they. Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, San Francisco, Seattle, Portland. Not on the list, are they? All right.
Every single city.
Every single.
Where it's in trouble, like the kind of trouble we're talking. It's
yeah, other kind of, I mean, obviously white collar crime, it's a different thing.
Run by Democrats and the crazy policies that they put
yeah, Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas City, Kansas.
Forth. And they can't believe them. And certainly after all of this time with the bad results, you would say, gee, it's time to make a change. But I really believe even a majority of the Democrats would say, because they don't want to be brutalized, a majority of Democrat voters would say exactly what I'm saying is right.
Which, by the way, they are. That's why Biden is asking for this request. It's also why he got elected at such a high rate when the defund the police thing was being floated during the primary.
Right. Third, we need a no-holds-barred national campaign to dismantle gangs and organized street crime in America.
Why? I mean, we have anti-gang task forces and the like, but a lot of this violence is not that's making the difference is not gang violence. What is this? 1992 Coca-Colas. The upshot has been literally in like loose guns all over the place and pop-offs. People either opening fire in a grocery store or shooting somebody over a Facebook post.
During my presidency, we sent tens of thousands of MS-13 gang members back out of our country. We'd either ideally send them out, and in some cases they were so bad and so dangerous, we put them in jail because we didn't
because they were Americans, dummy.
Trust the other countries to hold them.
We didn't trust the other countries to hold Americans.
As you know, other countries very happily send all of their criminals now through our open border into the United States. They're emptying their jails into the United States.
No, they're not.
We're like a dumping ground. We're not going to allow that to happen.
Yeah, it's very easy to stop because it never started. Also, again, they tell this story in conjunction with the. I'm gonna sign off because I'm way over time tonight, and I'll pick this up later because this is actually hilarious and has less of the kind of like. It's easier to break down because he's so worn out. But they do this in conjunction with the caravans a lot. He does this, and these caravans are coming and they're dumping. And the idea that, and I've talked about this before, the idea that they're letting murderers and, the Ted Bundys of their countries out and then saying, you promise not to do any of that shit until you hit America, right? And they're like, totally. So they just let them go? They just drive them up? Is there any evidence of the Mexican government or a truckload from Guatemala, they literally from there just driving all the way through Latin America, up through Mexico, up to the border and going, get out here. Don't crime until you cross the border. Yeah, remember, we're watching you. Not much, obviously. We're letting you out of jail.
We know where these gangs operate, what streets they control. We even know their names. The police officers know their names. The problem is they're not allowed to do anything about it.
About their names?
And they want to. We need to get...
And they want to. They wish they could just walk up and extrajudicially murder them. Unfortunately, if we want this place to remain America...
In there immediately, go into every drug den, every stash house, every hideaway, and round up the dealers and killers and the gang members and charge them with any and every crime.
Yeah, any and every crime. Whatever they charge the people at Enron with.
That we find, and there are a lot of them, drug crimes, sex crimes, all sorts.
Drugged up sex crimes, getting high and playing with yourself. All kinds of
vicious, horrible,
vicious lonely but vicious sex crimes.
Crimes like we've really never seen before.
Never seen before. Crimes like you've never crimed before.
before, certainly not on a scale like this.
No, not on a scale like this. Let's see. Let's see. I don't know if you know that there was a period in this country where people would drive down the street with Tommy guns and open up on stores. Just saying. It was a rather uncontrolled period in American history. And if you wanted to call it in, you had to find a fucking phone.
We're a war zone.
We're a war zone.
To lead this effort, a joint violent crime task force composed of the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security should be tasked with destroying these organizations.
Yeah, you were president for 4 fucking years. You didn't think of this while you were there?
And the penalties should be very, very severe.
Mm-hmm. Yes. No more tickling and a vegan sandwich.
If you look at countries throughout the world, the ones that don't have a drug problem
shoot drug dealers extrajudicially. Yes, we know. They also have dictatorships.
Are those that institute a very quick trial death penalty sentence for drug dealers. It sounds horrible, doesn't it? But you know what? That's the ones that don't have any problem.
Bullshit. If they don't have any problem, why do they keep doing it? Honest to God, where is the evidence that they don't have a drug problem? Now, I mean, why would you ever have to do it twice or 10 times or 100 fucking times?
It doesn't take 15 years in court. It goes quickly, and
if they're innocent, it's you can't make an omelet without shooting some eggs.
Absolutely. You execute a drug dealer and you'll save 500 lives because they kill on average 500 people. It's terrible to say, but you take a look at every country in this world that doesn't have a problem.
By the way, this room is very fucking quiet right now. I mean, I'll be curious to see. We'll end on whether or not these assholes applaud this point when it's done, when he transitions to another thought. But I don't think so.
Problem with drugs, they have a very strong death penalty for the people that sell drugs. If we're going to stop this scourge.
There's some tepid applause. It's not. Look at his face too. It did not. It was not the USA chant that he got at the beginning.
Time to get brutally tough.
Also, pro-life. What?
Tough on the dealers and traffickers.
Yes, and scourge, not scourge. Thank you.
Narco-terrorist cartels who are stealing over 200,000 American lives a year. And that's a very low number compared to what the real number is.
It's probably 2 million. We don't have, America's empty. It's just basically all criminals and just occasional victims.
Think of it, 200,000, you don't lose that in wars. You don't lose that in wars. And yes,
that's true of heart disease, dummy.
These drug traffickers should and must receive the death penalty. And I'll tell you, just from dealing with the heads of other countries, I said to President Xi of China,
oh, fuck me.
Do you have a drug problem? No, no, no. Why do we ask such a question? No. He almost didn't know what I was talking about. No, no. I said, why do you think? Well, if somebody is selling drugs, they get the quick trial. Quick trial. Never forget. What is quick trial? Meaning it goes fast. And they get the death penalty. But when I asked him, I said, do you have in any way no drug problem? They do have a drug problem. You know what they do? They make drugs and send them into our country. But I had it stopped. That was
No, he didn't. Hold on. Let's see. Where's the newest one?
我11岁那时候我就不上学了，以后就是没钱，家里面因为贫寒没钱念书。
Peng Lisheng's childhood was upturned when his father was sent to prison for drug trafficking. The conviction left his family in extreme poverty. They live in Xiamakwan, a remote village in China's northwestern Ningxia region. There are about 100 families here, and 2/3 of them have had their lives destroyed because of drug abuse.
The town hooked on heroin. This is years ago. Oh, April 16th, 2020. This is actually during the time he's talking about. In April of 2020, when this video was showing up, talking about this town, let's see, got it. The village of Xiamakwan in the poverty-stricken region of Ningxia is home to 100 families. The majority of them had their lives. Drug smuggling became rampant in China in the 1980s. It's one of the villages where this opportunity is a drug trafficking to visit the village and talk to the. Okay, there we go.
我们这个村几乎有60%的家庭就有这种。
Families like this one.
家里情况困难的，你们家里情况咋说去？大的2岁多，小的1岁。就是我跟你说的呢，不会走的时候还没上学呢。
Subo Fa Mai's 3 children are all in prison for drug trafficking.
Okay. No, we don't have a drug problem.
But when I asked him, I said, do you have in any way no drug problem? They do have a drug problem. You know what they do? They make drugs and send them into our country, but I had it stopped. That was a drug problem they had. But we had it stopped. Now it's bigger fentanyl. They make it, most of it, and they send it through Mexico, through the border. And
No, they send it through the ports and through the mail.
Just about stopped. And now the border, as you know, is just a horrible situation. But you look at Singapore, you look at other countries where they have the death penalty, they have no drug problem whatsoever.
Let's see when. Let's see, April 10th. There's tons of well, here you go. I'll show you. This is when is this? 3 weeks ago. Toronto Sun. Singapore hangs 2 drug traffickers despite opposition. Amnesty International said Singapore is one of the 4 countries known to have executed people for drug-related offenses in recent years. Anti-death penalty activists, okay, talking about this. Activists said the prison department handed the belongings and death certificates of Malaysian national Kalwan Singh and Singaporean Norashari Goes to their family after the execution Thursday morning. Singapore has once again executed people convicted of drug-related offenses in addition in violation of international law, seriously disregarding public outcry. Let's see. Kalwan, who was convicted in 2016 of bringing heroin into Singapore, was the second Malaysian to be executed in less than 3 months. Late April, the hanging of another Malaysian sparked an international outcry because he was believed to be mentally disabled. That's a dude who was, where is he? Yeah, here you go. This is adorable.
So yesterday, Nagin's mother, Madam Panchalai, had to stand up in court and address the judges herself because the family did not have a lawyer to represent them. And
yeah, that's one of the ways they handle it too, is you don't get a lawyer.
Unfortunately, her application was dismissed by the court, and therefore the execution was going to go forward. So all the family had in the end was an opportunity to hold hands with him in court, which was a big deal because in Singapore, when you visit a death row prisoner, there's no contact, there's no way to touch. And so being in court, being able to put his hand through the slit in the glass pane of the dock was the only time he could touch his mother in so many years. So the family had that for a little while, and a 2-hour visit in the holding area in the basement of the courthouse, and then they had to say goodbye. And this morning, I believe around dawn, he was.
By the way, no drug problem. Just reminded, like they do that and they have no drug problem. This is from April.
He was hanged. So his brother had to go and identify and claim his body from the prison this morning. And there was.
They hung him in April of this year.
It's a short wait in Singapore, and now he's finally on his way back to Ipoh, Malaysia, where his family live.
Yeah. You know, Singapore has very strict trafficking rules, and they make that very, very clear. You know, during the course of his trial, was it clear that because of his disabilities, his intellectual disabilities, that he understood these rules when he entered the country with this quite small amount of drugs?
So the Singapore state's position is that he did understand and he knew what he was doing, but there was accounts from experts who said that, you know, his borderline intellectual functioning, his ADHD and other cognitive impairments could have influenced the way he made decisions. You know, even if he might kind of, you know, as
USA sells precursor to make fentanyl into Mexico. Wake up. So, who says that in the chat room? It's made. Some of them are made in Arizona. The America doesn't sell them to them, but companies in the United States do. Anyways, so that was a mentally disabled guy who was hung for transporting drugs. He wasn't actively selling them. He wasn't the drug dealer. He was basically a mule. They hung him, and then they sent his corpse back to his parents in Malaysia.
And if we did that,
we wouldn't be America anymore.
In 1 year, even if it was not strong, because it's never going to be quite like China, I would say. What do you think, Kevin? Do you think it will ever be like? I don't think so. No matter what we do, no matter how tough we get, it won't be quite. You know what a quick trial is, right? 2 hours. That's what not 2 years, not 20 years. No, we're not going to have that. But just by the mere fact that you have that, immediately, Newt, drug dealing would go down.
Nonsense.
And death.
No. More witnesses would be killed. They don't have access to firearms and other shit the way they do in the United States, for one. So if you had this situation, you couldn't let a witness be alive. There'd be more gangland shootings. There'd be more violence. And also, like, if that's how trials are conducted in the United States, it ain't fucking America anymore.
Deaths would go down by at least 50%. 5-0. 5-0. If the radical Democrat politicians at the state, local levels refuse to protect public safety and instead turns criminals loose to prey upon the innocent, then the federal government will have no choice.
By the way, the dude who tried to stab Lee Zeldin, the prosecutor that released him without bail, works for Lee Zeldin's campaign.
But to step in, not wait for the governors anymore. I was mandated, wait for the governors, but sometimes I couldn't do that. I was watching too many things happen in Minnesota, Minneapolis. What happened if we didn't send in the National Guard? They wouldn't have a city left.
Bullshit. We've seen this before, and I've got to sign off because I've gone long tonight, for the record. But thanks everybody for joining me. This is HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide, and I do the show Monday through Friday, and I take these video clips long form, and we go through them and kind of answer the lies and manipulations and propaganda often that they put into these things, and it both in Trump speeches and in other clips. And I do them long form because I don't want to be told that I'm taking someone out of context. I do feel like we can needle drop some things and react to what we're seeing there. But if anybody references something that happened before the clip, sometimes we'll have that happen. I'll have a video, that Newsmax puts up or whatever, and they'll reference something in that segment that happened before the clip that they're choosing to put out themselves. So the context is missing because they choose to knock it out. And so that I can't help. But when I can, I will try to stay within as best I can, the context of and clarify any of the kind of gibberish that they throw in where they half explain something. I'll try and give as much information to you about what they're talking about as possible, because you need to know where these talking points start and how they end up in places. And one of the biggest things about this asshole is that he'll just repeat shit that somebody just whispered in his ear right before he walked on stage and act as if it's a fact he's known for years. And will question in many ways how other people don't know this stuff when it's A, he just learned it, and B, it's not even true. So anyways, that's how I do the show. That's how I choose to do the show. The morning show is different. Morning show, we just kind of look at the trends that are happening that day and the news of it. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do the morning show at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And whatever comes up, we just discuss it because it's kind of a springboard for a more philosophical conversation. In the afternoons, I deal with clips and speeches like this, and I go through them as they come. I don't, like I said, needle drop in the middle of them unless it's some specific issue that I'm pointing out or referencing in regard to something else. And so that's my ethic of the show. That's what I'm trying to create here. And I appreciate you guys being here and supporting the show in any way that you can. It's what sets us apart. And I'll end on for real, and I really am ending this time, is that if anybody tells you not to vote this fall or tells you to throw your vote away on a protest vote that'll show the powers of the establishment swamp, or whatever the fucking words they use, fuck those people. They're trying to wreck everything you care about. Vote. Vote.org. Vote for real. And if you're ever confronted, as we like to say around here, with a choice that you believe is the lesser of two evils, choose less evil. See you tomorrow. I just saw that. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. That's really lovely. Just want to say hello, Hal, and all the beautiful sparklers. Peace and love to all of you, says Iva. Thank you, Iva Lorraine. Appreciate it. Yay.